Chapter 2657. Meanwhile, in the small world, Qin Dynasty Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao turned into 4 rays of light heading to the first forbidden area at a shocking pace. The 4 did not conceal their auras. They simply unleashed their auras of the Heaven Highness realm. It was Qin Nan. His aura that belonged to a Heaven Highness in the Peak Dao realm was utterly terrifying. Even the strange creatures that were born in the blue sky dome were terrified when they sensed it. They did not dare to provoke it. Xiao Nanzi, I forgot to tell you something. A while ago, Lan Lan, Sister Mengyao, and I went to visit Shiyan and Xiaoyu. You might not know, but those 2 kids are like 2 little devils, Princess Miao Miao said. Qin Nan listened attentively to Princess Miao Miao's chatter. He would frown and burst out laughing at times. Even though he might be the strongest cultivator in the 9 heavens, but he was also a father. Lan Lan. Xue Mengyao watched this scene from behind and frowned slightly. She transmitted her voice. Why do I have a feeling that my husband won't help us refine the other supreme treasures when the time comes? He might even stop us and prevent us from climbing the real mountain of origin. Lan Lan nodded and said, Sister Mengyao, to be honest, I have the same thought too. The mountain of origin has been modified by the 7 great artifacts. We have lost the right time and place. We don't know a lot of secrets about the Blue Dome, so we've lost our people too. Our journey this time around will not bode well for us. Although husband is in the Undying Cycle Mountain and has promised us that he will definitely bring us along with his character, it is very possible that he will go back on his word at the last moment. I'm afraid he's still going to face it on his own. Xue Mengyao panicked and said, What should we do then? How can we let our husband face all of this? Jiang Bailan smiled faintly, like a lotus flower in clear water, and said, Sister Mengyao, you're right, we're husband and wife. I can't let my husband face it alone. Now that we're in danger, either we survive together or we die together. Until the moment of her death, her emotions did not fluctuate in the slightest. She was calm and indifferent, completely indifferent. I guess the princess has also thought of this and is thinking of a solution. Moreover, the princess doesn't intend to bring the 2 of us with her. She wants to accompany her husband alone. Jiang Bailan's eyes shone with wisdom as if she had seen through everything. What? This girl is too selfish. Xue Mengyao gritted her teeth. No, we can't let her have her way. If you want to accompany my husband, then let's do it together. Sister Mengyao, don't worry. If anything happens, we'll act according to the circumstances. Jiang Bailan said. All right. Just like that, the female and male reached an agreement in secret. Time passed bit by bit, and soon 10 hours had passed. The Empyreans that had entered this small world were like tigers that had been let loose. They began to attack the various forbidden lands. Some of the luckier Empyreans had even reached the forbidden lands and brazenly attacked, causing the flames of war to erupt. Qin Nan's group was quite lucky. The place they landed was not too far away from the first forbidden area. After flying for another hour, they finally arrived at the first forbidden area. Only the first forbidden area was a vast ocean shrouded in a layer of faint gray mist. Deep inside the mist, one could hear deep roars. Occasionally, one could see flashes of red light, causing one to feel heavy pressure on one's chest. Qin Nan released his powerful perception power, and his expression quickly turned solemn. From on the surface, the mist did not seem to be too dangerous, but the truth was, there were all kinds of strange creatures in the ocean. Most of them had reached the peak Heaven Highness realm. We have no choice but to force our way in. Qin Nan made up his mind. He immediately said, My wives, the 4 of us will form a formation. You 3 will guard the back. I'll handle the front, left, and right. Got it. Princess Miao Miao and the others nodded. They performed a hand seal. Runes spread under their feet as their auras began to connect. Let's go. Qin Nan controlled the formation. He was the first to charge into the mist. Sacred Demon Mountain. Qin Nan immediately executed various martial arts in his body. A sacred demon mountain floated above him. Roar, roar, roar. A series of thunderous roars immediately took place on the calm surface of the ocean. Strange creatures deep inside the mist were awakened. They unleashed their auras and locked onto Qin Nan and his crew. They poured down murderous intent like a great rain. Qin Nan drew his saber and unleashed a tremendous saber intent. The three women shouted. Each of them used their own methods to attack forward. Bang, 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 bang. A series of earth-shattering explosions soon took place. Qin Nan. The battle lasted for an hour before Qin Nan and his crew ventured deep into the mist. Qin Nan and his crew were greeted by a brand new sight. An ancient purple lamp with the height of a human stood silently on the surface of the ocean. The wick of the lamp was burning with a golden flame, emitting a golden glow that lit up the area within 100,000 li. The ocean was glittering brightly. No. In addition to that, the surroundings were filled with various trees and flowers, each emitting a shocking aura, as if they had arrived at a treasure trove. The strange creatures that had fought against Qin Nan and his crew seemed to be intimidated by the place. They did not dare to go any further and sank to the bottom of the ocean. So this is the ancient square heavenly lamp? It's nothing ordinary indeed. The eyes of Princess Miao Miao and her crew flickered with astonishment. With their cultivations, they could easily sense that the purple flame burning in the wick of the lamp was only 7 inches long. However, it felt like there was a space inside it, containing countless formations stacked on top of one another. Let's break the formations together. Qin Nan observed for a moment before firing a gust of wind into the wick of the lamp. At that instant, the tiny purple flame expanded rapidly and devoured Qin Nan and his crew. It felt like Qin Nan and his crew had stepped into a space of purple flames. The surroundings were filled with purple flames, but the flames were quite strange, as they could not feel any heat from them. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Qin Nan and his crew raised their heads as they sensed something. They saw several formations taking shape above them, which crushed down onto Qin Nan and his crew like mountains. We've learned a lot about formations over the past 2 years. Leave it to us, save your energy. The three of them were like 3 female gods of war. They executed all kinds of moves and entered the formations. Please remember the domain name of the book, .com. The mobile version of the book, .com. Chapter 2658. The formations were not strong, thus they were easy to crack, but there were so many of them that it took Princess Miao Miao and the others 3 hours to crack the formations. The flames looming over them immediately disappeared, allowing Qin Nan and the others to see the ancient square heavenly lantern again. Unlike before, the golden flames of the ancient square heavenly lantern had grown to 14 inches long. Deep inside the flames floated a few runes that formed the shape of a door. This must be the entrance to the world of Wick, Qin Nan said. He turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the flames. Princess Miao Miao and the others followed him. 10 breaths later, Qin Nan and the others felt their bodies becoming lighter as they found themselves in a brand new world. Raising his head, he saw that the sky was blue and there were no clouds in sight. In the distance there were many cities. Cultivators were coming from afar and entering the cities. Qin Nan unleashed his divine sense and immediately sensed that the cultivators in the cities were mostly human immortals and heaven immortals. There was no sign of anyone that was too strong. Division on top of that, Qin Nan also noticed that the auras inside the cultivators were a little strange. Even with his current cultivation, he was unable to peek through them. Let's go and ask. Qin Nan arrived deep inside a palace in the city with a flicker. Who are you? There was a middle-aged man in plain clothes with a calm temperament. His cultivation was at the peak heaven immortal realm. The middle-aged man's eyes widened when he saw Qin Nan and the others. He immediately said in a low voice with an alarmed look, "Fellow Taoist, I'm really sorry for disturbing you. We don't mean any harm. We just want to know where the Southern Temple Ancient Temple is. Qin Nan brought his fists together. Southern Temple Ancient Temple? You must be talking about the Southern Temple Ancient Temple, right? The middle-aged man calmed down and said, the Southern Temple Ancient Temple is located in the extreme arcane land. Just head east for 5 hours straight and you will see it. The middle-aged man paused for a moment and said, Seniors, I presume all of you are here for the Holy Monk's lecture as well, right? If that's the case, then you have to set off quickly. The Holy Monk's lecture is in 12 hours. Nan and the other 3 exchanged glances, expressed their thanks, and then disappeared. Qin Nan's group of 4 did the same, and they continued to ask a few more heavenly immortals before they swiftly moved and flew towards the east. Along the way, the 4 saw many cities and factions. They also learned that the world of the wick 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 of the wick. In addition, Qin Nan and the other 3 also learned that the so-called Southern Phantom Temple had a special status in the entire world of Wick. Every 10 years, a holy monk would give a lecture, and the leaders of the 21 great sects would personally come to the foot of the mountain to listen to the Buddha's words. In that case, if we want to destroy that Buddha statue, we will encounter quite a bit of resistance, said Shuemengyao. It won't be easy to subdue the ancient heavenly lamp. Princess Miao Miao's eyes flickered with pity as she said, however, the people in the world of Wicks will never know that they are actually living inside a lamp. They will never be able to break free from its restraints, and they might even face a great calamity one day. It's quite similar to our primary upper realm. Jiang Bailan shook her head and said, the only difference is that the Master of the Blue Dome has only isolated us from the rest of the world temporarily. Qin Nan remained silent. He glanced at the cultivators in the cities and fell into deep thought. The world of Wick. The world of Wicks was most likely the world that Tsang Hui was trying to build, right? The only difference was that the Tsang Hui had sealed off the entire world. No one was allowed to enter, and no one was allowed to leave. It would take the Heaven Immortal 5 hours to reach the Southern Phantom Temple, but it did not take Qin Nan and the others that long. In just the time it took to brew a pot of tea, Qin Nan and the others arrived at the Southern Phantom Temple. Only at the peak of a lofty snow mountain stood a Buddhist temple that was constructed from ancient divine wood. The temple emanated warm golden light that enveloped an area of 90,000 kilometers, and it caused others to feel that it was divine and dignified, and it couldn't be profaned. An entire 36 grand cities had been built at the foot of the snow mountain, and every single one of them was filled with a hubbub of voices right now. There's more to this Southern Phantom Temple than meets the eye. Princess Miao Miao's eyes flickered with astonishment. Suddenly, she unleashed her divine sense to investigate the temple, yet she discovered that the mountain where the temple was located was encapsulated by a strange force. It completely blocked off her divine sense, preventing her from taking a closer look. What do you think? Jiang Bailan turned to Qin Nan. This ancient temple is an extremely powerful artifact. It has already fused with this snow mountain and the world here. Once it is fully activated, it can kill a peak Empyrean. Qin Nan pondered for a moment before saying, with my current cultivation, I can peek into it with brute force, but it would only alert the enemy. Let's observe the situation from the main point. At the beginning, Qin Nan and the others already saw a straight path at the foot of the mountain that led to the Southern Phantom Temple. Qin Nan and the others soon arrived at the foot of the mountain without making any noise. The Heaven Highness authorities in the cities were completely unaware of their presence. Qin Nan said. Nan lifted his gaze and glanced at the path. His lips curled upward. The path was the only way to enter the Southern Phantom Temple. If they tried to force their way to the top of the mountain, they would trigger the forbidding aura of the place and be attacked by the Southern Phantom Temple, the mountain, and the land. Qin Nan Nan and the others were about to move forward when they heard a disdainful voice. How bold of you! Don't you know no one is allowed to go up the mountain before the sacred monk's speech is over? Please remember the domain name of this book, .com. The mobile version of the book, .com. Chapter 2659. Qin Nan and the others glanced toward the source of the voice and saw 5 young men and women walking toward them, followed by 6 old men. Here the 5 young men and women were dressed in extraordinary outfit. Their immortal auras were concealed, giving them a dignified appearance, especially the young man in the middle. He had a golden dragon with 9 claws on his shoulder. The dragon was fast asleep. Even though the 5 young men and women were only peak masters of Tao, the 6 old men behind them were peak rulers of Tao. One of them was even stronger than ordinary peak rulers of Tao. He was extremely close to achieving the Heaven Highness realm. By it was obvious how extraordinary the 5 young men and women were in the world of the Wick. Then, the young man who spoke was the one with the dragon on his shoulder. His eyes glittered when he saw Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Shui Mengyao. They were not bad at all. Qin Yan immediately put on a stern face and said sternly, "You dare to climb the mountain without permission. This is disrespect to the Southern Temple, and also disrespect to the entire world. The 4 of you will head to the heaven-gazing city to receive your punishment. You will suffer 100 hardships and be banned for 3 years. The other 4 young men and women immediately understood what the young man was trying to say. Qing, although it was disrespectful for a man and 3 women to gather here, it wasn't that serious. All they needed to do was apologize and leave. The reason why the young man made it sound so serious was because he had taken a fancy to these 3 beautiful women. By the time when the time came, the man and the 3 women would definitely beg for mercy after they were locked inside. At that time, the young man would be able to use his power to take these 3 beautiful women into his pocket. If they did not beg for mercy, he could secretly do something to them too. That's right. You have committed serious crimes. Go and accept your punishment. If you don't accept your punishment, you will be going against the Southern Temple and the world. The young men and women spoke righteously. Even if we are guilty, shouldn't the people of the Southern Temple be responsible for it? Since when is it your turn? Jiang Bailan said with a calm smile. Her cold tone and attractive face made her look like an immortal in a painting. All cultivators under the heavens have the responsibility to uphold the Southern Wasteland Holy Temple's discipline. Cut the crap and go to receive your punishment. The young man with the dragon on his shoulder felt a little warm in his heart, and his expression became even more righteous. What if we don't go? Princess Miao Miao harumphed. You're not going? The eyes of the young man with the dragon on his back lit up even brighter, and he said, "Everyone has heard it. These people are looking down on the Southern Phantom Temple, and they are looking down on all the cultivators in the world. Elders, please take action and detain these people back to Heaven View City." The 6 elders were already used to this kind of thing. Although they felt that this method was inappropriate, their duty was to protect them during this period of time and listen to their orders. Whoosh! 6's figure directly turned into 6 rays of light, rushing toward Qin Nan and the other 3 at an astonishing speed. First, they had already sensed the auras of the 4 cultivators earlier, and felt that they were extremely ordinary. Even though they were unable to see through their cultivation, they were certain that the strongest among them was only a ruler. The 6 of them were more than enough. Qin Nan shook his head slightly and flicked his finger. Boom! 6 rays of light shot out from the tip of his finger. Before the 6 elders could react, the 6 rays of light struck their chests, causing them to cry out in pain as they flew backwards and violently vomited blood. Qin Nan looked at the 5 stunned young men and women and said indifferently, "Do you want to die?" It was an ordinary sentence, but at this moment It was like a thunderous mountain that directly pressed down on the bodies of the 5 young men and women, causing them to cry out miserably in unison. Their bodies sank into the ground, and their faces were covered in blood. Heavenly! Heavenly Venerate? The elder's eyes widened. Only a peak Heavenly Venerate could possess such great power. How dare you hurt me like this? The 5 young men and women were filled with anger. They had never suffered such a great loss before. No. Yes, the young man in front of them was a Heavenly Venerate. Even with their status, they did not dare to say anything. After all, they were the ones who had plotted against them first. Even if they called their elders, they would only teach them a lesson. They could only remember this and seek revenge in the future. Let's go. Qin Nan and the others could not be bothered with them. They went straight to the mountain path. Just as a Buddha glow appeared in front of them as soon as they stepped onto the first step, but Qin Nan broke it with a wave of his hand and continued to move forward. They dare to trespass on the mountain? The 5 young men and women were startled. Most of what they said was false, but there was one thing that was true. Before the holy monk finished his speech, no one was allowed to go up the mountain. If they trespassed on the mountain, it would be disrespectful to the Southern Phantom Sacred Temple and the world. Very well. The 5 young men and women were overjoyed. They initially wanted to find a way to deal with them, but it was no longer necessary now. Father, the 5 young men and women quickly transmitted their thoughts. In less than a breath's time, several monstrous auras suddenly burst out from the cities in the distance. They soared into the sky and shook the surroundings. Who dares to trespass on the Southern Phantom Sacred Temple? A thunderous voice exploded between the heavens and earth. Then, a series of long rainbows shot over from the distance, stirring up huge waves. What? Someone is trespassing on the Southern Phantom Sacred Temple? The holy monk's speech has not started yet, but they dare to trespass on the Southern Phantom Sacred Temple? This is simply looking down on all of us in the world. The commotion caused by the Heavenly Venerates immediately alarmed the authorities and rogue cultivators in the cities. Without exception, a hint of anger appeared on their faces. For a time, a series of shocking auras burst out from the cities like bamboo shoots after a rain. Please remember the domain name of this book, .com. The mobile version of the wonderful book website, .com. Chapter 2660. Qin Nan and his crew who had just entered the mountain path halted in their tracks and turned around. 5 the young man and woman who were still buried in the ground assumed Qin Nan and his crew were scared. They immediately burst out laughing. You've trespassed into the Southern Phantom Sacred Temple. It's a serious crime. Even if you're a peak Heaven Highness, you won't be able to avoid being suppressed for 100 years. I'm telling you, if you kneel down and beg me. Princess Meow Meow frowned, noisy. Once she spoke, a boundless aura once again crushed onto the bodies of the 5 young men and women, causing them to unceasingly cry out and vomit blood. They appeared to be in an extremely miserable state. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just like that. Right at this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air rang out. 19 Heaven Highnesses were the first to arrive. 10 of them were in the greater success stage, while the other 9 were peak Heaven Highnesses. Each of them had an extraordinary aura and an imperious aura. Tight. Following that, the sovereigns of the various forces arrived one after another. There were both men and women, and they all had different appearances. No. In just 3 breaths' time, more than 50 experts had arrived at the foot of the Southern Phantom Sacred Temple. It was a spectacular sight, while more experts were still making their way here. Father, save me! The 5 young men and women yelled while enduring the tremendous pain. 10 among the 9 Heaven Venerables, 5 of them wore dark expressions. One of them, a middle-aged man with a square face, harumphed coldly. He waved his hand and summoned a formidable force to rescue the 5 heaven venerables from the ground and repair their bodies. Father, these 4 thieves are simply audacious. We happened to see the 4 thieves trying to climb the mountain when we came here to pay our respects to the Southern Phantom Sacred Temple. We immediately tried to stop them, but we didn't think that these 4 thieves would rely on their Empyrean realm cultivation to injure us. It can be said that they are extremely arrogant. The young man with the dragon on his back blurted out. How bold of them! The Heaven Highness authorities and the rulers of Tao were enraged. Even though, of course, the others didn't have a good impression of these 4 hedonistic sons. Normally, they wouldn't believe the words of these hedonistic sons. But now, they saw with their own eyes that these 4 thieves were walking up the mountain path. The 4 of you, no matter where you're from, no matter what your cultivation base is, you've injured my child. We can still discuss this peacefully. However, you all rashly ascending the mountain is a great disrespect to the Southern Slaughter Holy Temple. You must immediately seal your cultivation and be suppressed in Heaven View City for 100 years. The square-faced, middle-aged man coldly shouted, I will only give you 3 breaths of time. If you don't obey or resist, then don't blame me for being merciless. 1. The square-faced, middle-aged man raised a finger. Still without waiting for him to raise a second pole, he saw Qin Nan standing on the mountain path. His expression was indifferent as he looked at this huge group of people. He said, Let's not waste time talking nonsense. Today, no matter how many of you come, we will still climb the mountain. As soon as he said that, many people's expressions changed. How arrogant! Arrogant! You're out of your mind. The auras that were released from the bodies of the powerful beings became even more shocking in an instant. Everything at the foot of the mountain started to tremble violently. In fact, there were even cracks that appeared in the void. Very well. You still dare to look down on the Southern Slaughter Holy Temple and the cultivators of the world. The square-faced middle-aged man's eyes turned cold. He emitted an immortal glow and said, If that's the case, there's nothing more to say. As his voice fell, the square-faced middle-aged man and the other 18 Empyreans completely erupted with their strength. Today, the princess shall be the bad guy and beat you into submission. Princess Miao Miao's eyes sharpened. She looked like a goddess of martial arts. Princess Lan Lan Mengyao, wait here. Let your husband handle this. Qin Nan patted her shoulder. He went straight for the 19 Heaven Highnesses. Speak. In the blink of an eye, the 19 Heaven Highnesses unleashed their attacks at the same time. The whole place was dyed in a colorful hue. The terrifying auras swept across the place like a storm, causing the rulers of Tao to back away in fear. You're asking for your death. The 5 young men and women were laughing coldly in their hearts. So what if he was a peak Heaven Highness? How could a mere peak Heaven Highness possibly stand a chance against 9 peak Heaven Highnesses and 10 Heaven Highnesses in the greater success stage? It was indeed as they had thought. With such a huge group of people attacking together, it was completely and unimaginably terrifying force. However, they had stumbled into Qin Nan, a peak Tao realm Heaven Highness. In the nick of time, the sacred and demonic glows on Qin Nan's back blossomed simultaneously. A terrifying force gathered at the tip of his fist as he threw it forward. Bang! The whole world seemed to tremble violently at this moment. 10 The killing moves unleashed by the 9 Empyrean powerhouses were like a long river encountering an ocean, directly being devoured into nothingness. What? The 19 Heaven Highnesses were startled. What? Wasn't he a peak Heaven Highness? How? How did he manage to execute such a terrifying force with a single punch? How is this possible? The rulers of God Realm were stunned. They could not believe what they were seeing. That guy must have used some kind of forbidden technique to strengthen his strength significantly. The square-faced middle-aged man quickly reacted. he yelled. "Fellow cultivators, the forbidden art won't last long. It can only last for 10 breaths. Let's use our full strength. We just need to hold on for 10 breaths." "All right." The other celestial venerables nodded in agreement. "Come. Wonderful book house. Come." Chapter 2661. Is that so? Why don't you try? Qin Nan said. Nan was overjoyed. He executed several arts of Tao seeking in his body. His aura skyrocketed. Tao jolting saber art. Nan slashed forward. Wisps of saber intense surged forward like a sea of sabers. Pilgrimage art. 10,000 years Tao art. 13 heavenly kings sect. The 19 Heaven Highness realm authorities felt a great pressure surging at them. Even if some of them were trying to hold back, they had no choice but to use their strongest move. Bang bang bang! A series of deafening explosions took place. A whole rings of Bodhi glow burst out of the enormous snowy mountain to resist the impact of the collisions. Such a terrifying forbidden art! The rulers of Tao were astounded. The man was also a peak Heaven Highness, yet he was able to suppress 19 Heaven Highnesses. It simply implied that his forbidden art had multiplied his strength by at least 5 times. Humph! He's only relying on a forbidden art. He won't be able to hold on for long after 10 breaths. The 5 young men and women forcibly calmed their thoughts. Their eyes flickered disdainfully. Wait. The young man with the dragon on his shoulder suddenly thought of something. He looked at Princess Meow Meow and the others. Fellow seniors and cultivators, these 3 women have offended the Southern Phantom Sacred Temple too. Why don't we take them down first? The 4 of them must be close since they came together. We might be able to intimidate the man. The young man with the dragon on his shoulder yelled. Qin Nan might be strong, but there was no way the 3 women were as strong as him, right? Even though it was said that Princess Meow Meow had displayed her power, but anyone in the ruler realm would be able to do the same. That's reasonable. Let's take the 3 women down first. The other sovereigns immediately chimed in when they heard this. Qin Nan, they were infuriated that Nan and the others had offended the Southern Phantom Sacred Temple, but they were unable to intervene with their cultivation. They might as well take the 3 women down. Attack together. The peak rulers moved swiftly, withstanding the shock waves from the battle between the heavenly venerates and attacking Princess Meow Meow and the other 2 women. Alright. When the 9 Empyreans saw the situation, they all secretly praised. This was especially true for the square-faced middle-aged man. He felt a little relieved. He didn't expect his good-for-nothing son to react so quickly. You think you can do anything to us? Meow asked. Princess Meow, Jiang Bailan, and Shui Mengyao could not help but grin upon seeing this. They did not attack, nor did they move. However, from their bodies, an overflowing aura burst forth, spreading out a surging wave of oppressive might. The eyes of the rulers of Tao and the Heaven Highnesses widened. Their hearts skipped a beat. 3 This peak Empyrean? These 3 beautiful women were actually also peak Empyreans? How is that possible? The young man carrying the dragon on his shoulder blurted out. It was a lot more difficult for a woman to achieve the Heaven Highness realm than a man. There were only 2 female Heaven Highnesses in their world, and they were only in the early stage of the Heaven Highness realm. Who the hell are you guys? The square-faced middle-aged man and the Heaven Highnesses asked when they realized that something was not right. For a peak Heaven Highness was more powerful than any faction. I won't tell you who I am, but I can tell you that I'm quite displeased by your actions, Qin Nan said expressionlessly. He performed a hand seal, causing the heavens and earth to tremble vigorously. Sacred Demon Mountain, suppress them. Qin Nan waved his hand. An illusionary mountain appeared between the heavens and earth and crushed down on the 19 Heaven Highnesses. The great pressure completely restrained the 19 Heaven Highnesses, preventing them from moving. They had no choice but to endure the pressure with brute force. Crap! The 9 Heaven Highnesses were startled. They immediately executed their trump cards. Some took out Bodhi weapons, while others took out Bodhi talismans. They were all related to Bodhi. A Bodhi glow flickered across the place. However, following a series of explosions, the 19 Heaven Highnesses groaned and spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their faces turned pale. They were completely suppressed. They could only hold on for a short while. Seeing this, Qin Nan did not continue to attack, nor did he say a word. The whole place fell into a dead silence. The cultivators who were initially furious did not dare to say a word. Some of them even backed away. 10 breaths have passed. Qin Nan suddenly said, "I'm sorry to disappoint you. My forbidden art is still working." "How is this?" The square-faced, middle-aged man and the Heaven Highnesses were lost in their thoughts. If it wasn't a forbidden art, how could the man's strength be so terrifying? Did he surpass the Heaven Highness realm? The 5 young men and women were the most terrified. Their faces immediately turned pale. How could they still think of scheming against these 4 terrifying powerhouses? Were they trying to get their revenge? Suddenly, an unexpected change took place. Dong! 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 3 An ancient chime of a bell came from the top of the snowy mountain. It calmed the hearts of the crowd. Only a bright Buddhist light was shining from the ancient temple at the summit of the mountain. It illuminated the entire sky in a golden color. A voice appeared too, "Amitabha, Master Lin, please go easy on us." The others were overjoyed when they heard the voice. Their faces were filled with excitement. The holy monk was here. Calm. Wonderful book house. Chapter 2662. Qin Nan raised his eyebrows. He turned around and looked at the straight path leading up the mountain. "Xiao Nanzi, there's something wrong with the monk. Why did he call you Benefactor Lin? If he's wrong, why did he call you Lin instead of some other surname?" Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao immediately realized that something was wrong. Qin Nan had been using the name Lin Xiaoji in the ancient era. However, most people would not know about it, let alone the fact that the monk was only a living creature that had appeared in one of the ancient heavenly lamps in the Blue Dome. A while later, Qin Nan, the 3 women, the Heaven Highnesses, and the rulers of Dao saw a young monk in his mid-20s in a kasaya coming down from the end of the path. His face was as fair as jade, and he was walking down the path. Qin, the young monk, placed his palms together with a calm expression. There was a Buddha halo behind his head, giving him a sacred appearance. "Greetings, holy monk." The celestial venerables and rulers immediately bowed respectfully. Their voices were loud and clear, and there was no hint of deceit in their attitude. Qin Nan and the 3 women did not say a word. Their eyes flickered with astonishment. They were unable to see through the holy monk with their sharp senses. They also felt that the holy monk was different from everyone else. He was more similar to them and the cultivators of the primary upper realm. "Fellow benefactors, there's no need to be so courteous." The holy monk soon arrived at the foot of the mountain and bowed slightly to the crowd. "Hey, monk, why are you calling my husband Benefactor Lin? I'm telling you, my husband's surname is Wang, not Lin," Princess Miao Miao said on purpose. "Lady, I'm sorry, but I don't know you, so I didn't know your real surname." The holy monk smiled and said, "I've always had a bad habit. When I see a stranger, I'll call him whatever his surname is. I won't change it. This penniless monk feels that Benefactor Lin's surname is Lin, so this penniless monk calls you Benefactor Lin. Please forgive me." Hearing this, Jiang Bailan asked, "Then may I ask, what do you think my surname should be when you see me?" The holy monk glanced at Jiang Bailan and said without hesitation, "I think you are Benefactor Jiang." Meng Yao immediately asked, "Then what do you think my surname is?" "This penniless monk believes that you are Benefactor Xue." As soon as these words were spoken, Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao's beautiful faces slightly changed, their expressions uncertain. This is what was going on with this holy monk? Could it be someone from the great upper realm? Such as if he was from the great upper realm, then who exactly was he? How did he know her husband's real name? If he hadn't come from the primary upper realm, how could he have known all this? Could it be that there was some kind of divine ability in this world that could specifically calculate a cultivator's name? Benefactor Lin, please be magnanimous and let them go this time. The holy monk looked at Qin Nan. Sure. Qin Nan nodded and waved his hand to disperse the illusory image of the holy devil mountain. At the same time, 5 rays of black light shot out from his finger and sank into the bodies of the 5 young men and women, causing them to roll on the ground and scream in agony. The faces of the square-faced middle-aged man and the other heavenly venerables changed slightly. Benefactors, there is no need to say anything more. They offended you first, so it is reasonable for Benefactor Lin to punish them slightly. The holy monk shook his head. Thank you, holy monk. Thank you, Senior Lin. The square-faced middle-aged man and the others immediately heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly cupped their hands. Since the holy monk said that he would punish them slightly, their lives would not be in danger. That was enough. Since the holy monk's dharma is so profound, I presume that the holy monk already knows the purpose of our visit? Qin Nan smiled faintly and asked. Of course I know the rules of the Southern Temple. Benefactor Lin, you have to wait for me to finish my Dharma lecture before you can enter the Southern Temple. However, Benefactor Lin, you do not belong to this world, so you will not be bound by the rules. The holy monk's expression was calm. I have come down this time to bring you into the temple. The Empyreans and sovereigns present were all shaken to the core. The holy monk's words held a very deep meaning. Thank you, holy monk. Qin Nan nodded. Benefactors, please. The holy monk gestured. Qin Nan and the 3 women did not hesitate and directly walked up the path of the snowy mountain. When they were halfway up the mountain, they could only hear the sound of the wind and snow. When they looked back, they could not see the bottom of the mountain. It was as if they had entered another world. Holy monk, you know that we are here to break the Buddha statue? Princess Miao Miao asked curiously. According to common sense, the Buddha statue is the most precious treasure of a Buddhist temple. No one is allowed to destroy it, right? Why didn't you stop us? The holy monk's expression changed for the first time. There was a trace of helplessness. Benefactor Miao, you are right. The Buddha statue is not allowed to be destroyed. Moreover, the Buddha statue is my master. Under normal circumstances, even if you are stronger than me, I will not allow you to destroy the Buddha statue even if I pass away. However, the Buddha's orders cannot be disobeyed. If the Buddha wants you to destroy it, what can I do? As soon as he said this, Qin Nan and the 3 women looked at each other and saw the shock and confusion in each other's eyes. The holy monk's aura was mysterious, and they could not see through his depth. He was at least a peak heavenly venerate or even a peak heavenly venerate of the self, knowledge, and response realms. His battle strength was probably extremely strong. In addition, there was the Southern Temple, the heavenly venerables at the foot of the mountain, and the geographical advantage of this place. Even if Qin Nan and the 3 women were unparalleled in battle strength, they would not be able to take him down easily. But why would such a situation occur now? Was this a conspiracy? Or was there something else? Please remember the domain name of this book. .com. Wonderful Book House. Com. Chapter 2663. 10 breaths later, Qin Nan and the 3 women followed the holy monk to the Southern Temple. As they pushed open the thick, red wooden door, the sound of monks chanting scriptures immediately entered their ears. The chants were so uniform that it calmed their hearts. Looking up, there were 3 bronze cauldrons placed in the huge front yard. Countless Buddhas with different expressions were engraved on the surface of the cauldrons. Golden incense sticks stood inside the cauldrons, burning slowly. Green smoke rose in spirals and sprinkled down pieces of golden ash. They could see the main hall through the smoke. A sandalwood plaque was hanging on top of the main hall. The words Heavenly Buddha were engraved on it. The door of the main hall was wide open, so one could see a portion of the situation inside the main hall. There were lotus flower platforms placed inside, and they emitted dense celestial light. At the end of the hall, there was a large golden Buddha statue that was several hundred feet tall. However, for some reason, it was impossible to see the true appearance of the golden Buddha statue. They could only see a rough outline of it. This is the aura of the Tao realm. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. The Tao realm. It was not easy to achieve the Tao realm. Benefactors, this way, please. The holy monk made a hand gesture and led the way. They went around the 3 cauldrons and entered the main hall. Qin Nan and the others followed closely behind. When Qin Nan and the others arrived at the main hall, they immediately felt a boundless pressure like an ocean. It felt like they were facing a golden ocean instead of a Buddha statue. This time, Qin Nan finally saw the true appearance of the golden Buddha statue. His eyes flickered with astonishment for the first time. The golden Buddha statue was completely different from the usual Buddha statues. It was wearing a long robe and had long hair. It was sitting on the 8 trigrams platform. If it weren't for the golden glow around its body, its peaceful expression, and its palms together, which barely gave off a hint of Buddha intent, it would have been mistaken for the statue of a Taoist priest. His appearance was exactly the same as the spirit of the heavens pole leaderboard. There was not the slightest difference. Husband, what's wrong? The 3 women noticed that something was wrong with Qin Nan, and immediately asked through voice transmission. Qin Nan came back to his senses and replied via sound transmission. The 3 women were also shocked. Is this the spirit of the celestial pole list? Wasn't it dead? Why would it appear here? And it even became the statue of Buddha in the southern wasteland holy temple? Benefactors, this is this poor monk's master, and also the Buddha of the southern Buddhist temple, the heavenly Buddha. The holy monk looked at the Buddha statue, his face full of respect. 3,000 years ago, I entered the southern temple by chance and felt the will of the Buddha. Since then, I have become the Bodhisattva of the southern temple. Nan took a light breath and said, Grand Master, how long has this southern temple existed in this world? In fact, Qin Nan had never believed that the spirit of the celestial pole list was really dead. He thought that the spirit of the celestial pole list was probably faking its death. After all, the spirit of the celestial pole list was the supreme celestial lord of the Tao realm, one of the top 10 innate physiques in the universe. It had the supreme saint's soul in its body. No. Yes, if Brother Tian was not dead, then where did he go? Why was there no trace of it in the great upper realm after so many years? Even the lower profound realm and middle profound realm of the Blue Dome did not leave any trace of it. But yes, now, Qin Nan finally saw such a trace. This poor monk is not sure about this. The holy monk shook his head and said, As far as this poor monk knows, the southern temple has always existed in the 8,000 years of recorded history of our world. 8,000 years. Qin Nan muttered to himself, no longer thinking about it. He instantly released a huge amount of divine sense, and all of it poured into the statue of the heavenly Buddha. Qin Nan frowned slightly. Apart from feeling an unusual power in the Buddha statue, he did not feel anything else at all. Do I need to break it? The thought flashed through Qin Nan's mind, and almost without any hesitation, his entire body suddenly burst out with a monstrous aura. Even the great Unity Heaven spell was activated, and he turned into the body of origin, controlling all methods. In an instant, the main hall trembled, and the sound of the many monks chanting scriptures suddenly changed from faint to loud, making everything inexplicably become extremely solemn. Qin Nan moved, came in front of the Buddha statue and punched out. That terrifying power completely exploded without any reservation. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire southern temple began to tremble violently, and the Buddhist light began to shine continuously. After the huge statue of the heavenly Buddha trembled violently, cracks appeared on its chest, and finally, with a crack, it shattered into pieces on the ground. Roar! 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 Cries of dragons could be heard all of a sudden. It turned out that after the Buddha statue was shattered, a golden glow appeared and turned into thousands of golden dragons flying around the hall. Roar! A shocking Buddhist intent and pressure was released, causing the faces of Princess Miao Miao and the other two women to change slightly. They had no choice but to raise their auras to the maximum to resist. What's going on? Nan Nan frowned even more. These hundreds of golden dragons were a kind of extremely pure power. If they were absorbed, it would be greatly beneficial to a cultivator, and could be said to be an extremely rare opportunity. But was this all that Brother Tian's Buddha statue had left behind when it appeared here? Ba! At this moment, the holy monk suddenly sat down with his legs crossed, took out the Buddha bracelet, and softly chanted. The 8 trigrams Buddha altar where the heavenly Buddha statue was sitting immediately flickered with golden light. Calm. Wonderful book house. Chapter 2664. It was a large golden character that appeared out of thin air on the Buddhist altar. It was as if there was a supreme existence holding a Buddhist brush and leaving behind the Buddhist mantras. Wait. After the golden light flashed, Qin Nan immediately looked over. Go forward bravely and strive for supremacy. The general trend of the world is rolling forward. It is invisible and tangible. It is not something that can be completely controlled by human power, nor can it be completely controlled by material power. What will happen in the end is unknown. Everything is undetermined. It will remain in the eternal sky. Nan's eyes flashed. There were 3 meanings in this paragraph. First, the spirit of the celestial pole list told him not to worry about anything in the mountain of origin this time. He had to go all out and reach the realm of supreme celestial venerate. First. Secondly, the spirit of the celestial pole roll had used the general trend of the world to hint to him that the current general trend of the Green Dome world had not been completely fixed. It had not been completely controlled by the 7 supreme treasures. There were still many variables and changes. As a result, no one knew what the final result would be. First. Among the 3 points, the last sentence was left in the sky to prove to Qin Nan that the Bodhi statue was not arranged by the 7 great treasures, and that it was not a conspiracy. Because only Qin Nan, Ji Xian, and a few others knew what the word eternal sky meant. Eternal heaven referred to the immortal emperor of eternal heaven. Back in the great evolution world mountain, the spirit of the celestial pole list awakened the born Taoism aptitude at the critical moment. It snatched the inheritance of the great evolution heavenly sect from the hands of the immortal emperor of eternal heaven and turned the situation around. So, that letter was from Brother Tian? Before Qin Nan agreed to open the mountain of origin together, he had received a letter in the undying cycle mountain. The general meaning of the letter was similar to this paragraph. It also told Qin Nan not to worry and to go all out to become a supreme celestial venerate. At the critical moment, someone would help Qin Nan. Of course, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that Qin Nan was almost certain that Brother Tian was still alive. Only as long as Brother Tian was still alive, he would be able to arrange everything in secret. Brother Tian, since you're still alive, what's your situation now? Why do you have no choice but to use this method to send me a message? Questions arose in Nan's mind. Husband, this is a good thing. Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao walked up and read the message. They quickly understood the meaning behind it, and their beautiful eyes immediately lit up. In the current situation, the more changes there were, the more advantageous it would be for them. Indeed. Qin Nan nodded and stopped thinking about it. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. No matter what, as long as Brother Tian was still alive, that was enough. At that time, when he stepped into the realm of Supreme Empyrean and dispelled the vast fog in the Blue Dome, he would naturally be able to see Brother Tian again and find out the truth. Mr. Lin, since you've shattered the statue of the Buddha, you can proceed with the final step. The monk rose to his feet and performed a Bodhi hand seal before slapping at the 8 trigrams altar. The altar immediately shattered into pieces, revealing a passage covered in runes leading to somewhere unknown. All right, thank you, Master. Qin Nan expressed his gratitude. Meow. Princess Miao rolled her eyes upon seeing this. Xiao Nanzi seemed to be in a good mood. It was time to tell him some bad news. This is bad. Princess Miao Miao's expression shifted. She exclaimed, Senior Mingchu just sent me a message. They are being targeted by Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian. They are still on the run. Jiang Bailan and Xue Mengyao exchanged glances with one another. Jiang Bailan frowned and said, I received the message too. Besides, Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian's cultivation has indeed improved significantly. The old ancestor and the others are already injured. Xue Mengyao blurted out, At this rate, the old ancestor and the others are in danger. We have to go and help them. Princess Miao twisted her lips. Lan Lan had seen through their plan. Qin Nan straightened his face. He scanned his storage bag with his divine sense. As he thought, Ancestor Mingchu had also sent him a message. They were indeed being pursued. Husband, under these circumstances, the princess, Sister Yao Yao, and I have to go and help the old ancestor and the others. With our cultivation and the old ancestor's help, we should have no problem stopping Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian, Jiang Bailan said in a deep voice. Xiao Nanzi, Lan Lan is right, we have to go. I know you're worried about our safety, but we can't just hide behind you at such a crucial time. Princess Miao Miao wore a determined look. Xue Mengyao nodded in agreement. You're right. Qin Nan exhaled deeply. He glanced at the monk and said, Master, can they leave this world? The monk placed his palms together and nodded slightly. There's a passage in the Nansha sacred temple that can leave this world. If that's the case, I'll have to trouble you then. Master Lin, you're being too courteous. Nan glanced at Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao. He let out a sigh after seeing their reaction. Master, seriously, why did he have to ask Ancestor Mingchu to put on an act? Old Master, why wouldn't the old ancestor tell him the truth? It's going to be very dangerous for you. I only have a small request. Unless it's absolutely necessary, you can't split up. Is that okay? Qin Nan said in a deep voice. Xiao Nanzi, don't worry. Sister Lan Lan and Sister Yao Yao will definitely beat Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian, those 2 old bastards. Princess Miao Miao patted her chest. Qin Nan nodded. He gave the 3 women a few more words of advice and watched them leave. He was originally very determined to bring Princess Miao Miao and the other 2 women along. He couldn't put them in danger. However, the old ancestor was right about one thing. They were also giants and geniuses. They had their own wills. He shouldn't force them to be his canaries. He should respect the 3 women's choice. At that time, if someone really hurt his woman, then the only thing he had to do was to make that person die without a burial place. Qin Nan calmed himself down and immediately flashed into the passage. Please remember the domain name of this book. .com. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2665. After about 10 breaths of time, Qin Nan felt his body sinking, and he found himself in a strange space. He looked up and saw that he was in a black Taoist field with a radius of about 50,000 miles. The Taoist field exuded a primitive aura, as if he was in the antiquity times. In the east, south, west, and north of the Taoist field was a vast expanse of white. Immortal light kept flashing inside, which made Qin Nan feel a sense of danger. "How dare you come here alone? Why didn't you bring a few more people with you? Do you think that a Tao-En celestial master can defeat the young celestial emperor?" Suddenly, a thunderous voice exploded above the Taoist field. "Senior, are you the device spirit of the ancient square heaven lamp?" Qin Nan instantly guessed and asked. "That's right, it's me." The spirit of the ancient lamp said with a hint of anger in its voice, "How nice of you to set me up with two forces. First, you revealed the secret of the ancient square heaven lamp, and then you tampered with my southern temple." In the original plan, the ancient square heaven temple was a crucial part, even more important than the young celestial emperor. "Senior, I can understand your anger. As a powerful treasure, it was suppressed by a group of traitors and its destiny was controlled by them. No one would feel good about it," Qin Nan said calmly. "You don't have to test me here. Although I'm loyal to the sacred master, I'm not blindly loyal. I don't think there's anything wrong with what the Donghuang Great Void Chain and the others did. When the sacred master made the plan of 1,000,000 years ago, I was not very happy about it." The spirit of the ancient square heaven lamp snorted. "Senior, you're not blindly loyal," Qin Nan said with a faint smile and a hint of sarcasm. "Really? What made the spirit of the ancient square heaven lamp unhappy was that the Donghuang Great Void Chain and the others did not take the ancient square heaven lamp with them. They even used the ancient square heaven lamp as a chess piece." Thinking of this, Qin Nan could not help shaking his head. His luck this time was indeed not very good. If the spirit of the ancient square heaven lamp was a loyal follower of the master of the Blue Dome, it would be much more convenient. Qin Nan could obtain a lot of useful information without any effort. However, since the spirit of the ancient lamp was not, it would not be so cooperative when the time came. He knew that the treasures of the Blue Dome were not comparable to the treasures of the Great Upper Realm. If it weren't for the rules set by the Lord of the Blue Dome, any one or two of their treasures would have been enough to destroy the Great Upper Realm. The cultivators of the Great Upper Realm would never have had a chance. Therefore, after refining the Blue Dome treasure, although one could activate it and use its power, it was impossible to completely control the life and death of the artifact spirit. Of course, it was already good enough that the ancient lamp did not belong to the Donghuang Great Void Chain and the others. "You little brat, don't talk to me in such a tone." The spirit of the ancient square heaven lamp sneered. "Now that things have come to this, I have no other choice. If you can defeat the young immortal emperor, then I can only be refined by you and recognize you as my master. However, don't think that everything will be fine if you become the master of the ancient square heaven lamp. The relationship between the two of us is not a true master-servant relationship. It can barely be considered a cooperative relationship. If you satisfy me, I will reveal something to you. If you satisfy me, you can forget about using the true power of the ancient square heaven lamp. Finally, I have to remind you that the young immortal emperor will kill you, and you will die very miserably." The voice of the ancient square heaven lamp gradually became softer, and finally sounded like the whisper of a devil. "Is that so?" Qin Nan remained calm, showing no sign of fear. Boom! Boom! Without any warning, a monstrous aura exploded at the end of the training field. Boom! At the same time, in a mysterious forbidden area in the small world of the Mountain of Origin. To be precise, this was not a forbidden area, but a battlefield. The ground was full of potholes, broken limbs, and many rusty broken weapons could be seen everywhere. No one knew how many years had passed on this battlefield, but it exuded an ancient aura. Song at that moment, he and Yi Zhaoxian were carefully and cautiously advancing through the battlefield. When they first entered this battlefield, the two of them were a little careless and took a wrong step. As a result, they attracted incomparably shocking killing intent. If the two of them hadn't joined hands and dealt with it in time, even if they could escape, they would have been seriously injured. The battlefield was not very big, but Song and Yi Zhaoxian spent a few hours and only covered less than a third of it. Jie. Squeak. A voice rang out, and it was exceptionally ear-piercing in this quiet battlefield. Press. According to the map given to them by the Donghuang Great Void Chain, where Tsang had just taken a step, there was a piece of wreckage. Even if Tsang was unwilling, he had to crush this piece of wreckage. Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian both tensed up and waited for a long time. After finding no movement, they continued to move forward. However, Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian did not notice that after the bone was crushed into dust, it actually moved and silently attached to Tsang's shoes, as if it was stained with a little bit of dust. After a while, Tsang, who was wholeheartedly moving forward, suddenly heard a hoarse and harsh voice. Ji Tsang, long time no see? Tsang said. His pupils shrank slightly. He was constantly releasing his power of perception, but he did not feel the slightest fluctuation of qi at all. Who was talking to him? Those dregs all think I'm dead. But they don't think that I'm not completely dead. The voice was a little crazy. Jitsang, we've met a few times. If you want to know a big secret about the Blue Dome, come here when the time comes. Remember, you're coming here alone. Please remember the domain name of this book. .com. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2666. At this moment, in the mysterious space of the ancient square heaven lamp, large the void collapsed directly, and the chanting of many gods and demons came from the depths, resounding throughout the entire place. After waiting for a while, Qin Nan saw a young man walking out of the void. This person had long silver hair, and his eyes were eerie black. He looked lifeless. This person was wearing a very wide white robe. His neck and hands could not be seen, and even his feet were covered by the white robe. Qin Nan's eyes suddenly flashed with a strange look. As expected of the young celestial emperor, Qin Nan praised sincerely in his heart. The young celestial emperor's cultivation was exactly the same as his. They were both Dao celestial masters. Not only that, but the moment the young celestial emperor appeared, he gave him a strong sense of oppression, which made him feel very alarmed. When Yi Zhaoxian had just stepped into the Dao Celestial Master realm, he did not feel this way. Let's see how you die now. The spirit of the ancient square heaven lamp in the depths of the fog looked at this scene and sneered. Be careful. It did not mean that when two celestial masters reached the Dao Celestial Master realm, their battle strength would be on par. Dao Celestial Dao was just a general realm. In the end, who was stronger would depend on the opponent's means. But yes, the young celestial emperor it had transformed into was definitely a terrifying existence among the celestial venerables. Even in the universe, there were not many celestial venerables who could defeat this young celestial emperor. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns. Since people in the heavens and realms could not defeat him, how could an Dao celestial master from a barbaric land win? Your 7 supreme treasures suppressed and schemed against me, wanting others to get the ancient square heaven lamp. But you did not expect that the young celestial emperor I transformed into was the one from the space-time temple. Thinking of this, the spirit of the ancient square heaven lamp could not help but feel proud. In the heavens and earth, in the heavens and realms, there were many young talents who could get the title of young celestial emperor. However, in front of these 4 words, the concept of the space-time temple was completely different. Time, the holy temple of emptiness, was once the most powerful, ancient, and mysterious force in the myriad worlds. Even when the Lord of the Blue Dome was at his peak, He had not been able to fully comprehend the holy temple of emptiness. It was the spacetime canon that they cultivated, and it was a top-notch great Tao technique. This was the confidence of the ancient lamp's spirit. It was also the reason why it dared to look down on Qin Nan. If it were any other young immortal emperor facing a supreme Tao realm examinee, it might have panicked a little. After all, in a situation where the difference in cultivation level between two people wasn't that great, there was still a huge difference between one without intelligence and the other with intelligence. You guys just wait for the promise to be fulfilled when the time comes. The ancient heavenly lamp spirit thought to itself. This time, the 7 supreme treasures, including the Dongwang Great Void Chain, were sent into the Mountain of Origin. They did not force them into the Mountain of Origin. Instead, they gave them conditions. The conditions were very simple. Within half a year, if no one obtained them, then they could participate in the grand plan of the Dongwang Great Void Chain and the other supreme treasures. In fact, this condition was set because the Dongwang Great Void Chain and the other supreme treasures did not want to make things so tense, so they just casually said it. By the Dongwang Great Void Chain and the other supreme treasures actually said the details of each of the supreme treasures. No matter how weak the cultivators in this barbarian land were, they could still subdue each of the supreme treasures. But, because it was different, it could fulfill this condition. Just as while it was thinking in its heart, on the training field, Qin Nan's body suddenly bloomed with rays of immortal light. His entire aura burst out directly, and he was on par with the young immortal emperor. Tight. Then, Qin Nan took the lead. He burst out with an extremely amazing speed, turning into a ray of light that was difficult to catch with the naked eye. He rushed directly in front of the young immortal emperor and punched out. The impenetrable divine body and the immortal demon's skill burst out at the same time. At this critical moment, a fiery red light gushed out from the young immortal emperor's pitch-black eyes. His figure also retreated abruptly, retreating dozens of miles. He raised his right hand, revealing his palm. Rays of light shot out from the center of his palm, forming a strange formation. Boom! The fist intent hit the formation, causing a shocking explosion. However, then, a strange scene occurred. The formation began to rotate at an amazing speed, releasing a strange power, which actually weakened the terrifying fist intent bit by bit. No. In just a short time, the terrifying fist intent directly turned into nothingness, as if nothing had happened just now. Good. Seeing this scene, the spirit of the ancient lamp could not help but laugh out loud with joy. This was the horror of the successor of the space-time temple. What kind of power could withstand the power of spacetime? Is this the power of spacetime? Qin Nan's face was filled with astonishment. He could not believe his eyes and could not help but ask, "Senior, is this young immortal emperor the successor of the spacetime temple?" You're from a barbaric land, and you know about the spacetime temple? The spirit of the ancient lamp was startled for a moment, but it soon reacted and said, "That's right, this man is the successor of the space-time temple. He once broke the shackles and became an immortal emperor. His name shook the world." The spirit of the ancient lamp paused for a moment, then continued in a disdainful tone, "Since you know about the space-time temple, you must know how terrifying it is. If you admit defeat and leave now, I can still forcibly stop everything. It's not easy for an ultimate Tao heavenly master to appear in a barbaric land like you. I have no enmity with you, so I'm too lazy to let you die here." Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2667. However, the spirit of the ancient lamp never expected that as soon as it finished speaking, it would see this young man from a barbarian land burst out laughing, his face full of joy. This guy has gone mad? The spirit of the ancient lamp was a little confused. Although it had graciously spared this guy, there was no need for him to be so happy, right? Senior, you've really given me a big gift this time. You've allowed me to meet the young immortal emperor of the space-time temple here. Qin Nan said excitedly. She, due to various coincidences, he had unexpectedly obtained the space-time scripture of the space-time temple. But yes, he had not obtained the corresponding moves and methods. Qin Nan had now cultivated the space-time scripture to the 3rd level, but he only knew one move. Within a certain range, he could reverse or speed up time by 1 breath. Li Xiaoxian also cultivated the power of spacetime, but she had only comprehended it from the spacetime stele. It was far inferior to Qin Nan's spacetime scripture. However, Yi Zhaoxian's use of the power of spacetime was much stronger than Qin Nan's. For example, Yi Zhaoxian could form a spacetime array and combine it with her other techniques to unleash unimaginable power. Just because of that, Yi Zhaoxian was able to use the spacetime technique that he had cultivated as one of his most important trump cards. In comparison, Qin Nan's spacetime scripture was not very useful. Clang. However, if Qin Nan was given enough time, with Qin Nan's martial talent, he could naturally comprehend the spacetime scripture and deduce various moves that used the power of spacetime on his own. But yes, right now what Qin Nan lacked was time. No, however, when the young immortal emperor of the spacetime temple appeared in front of Qin Nan, everything would be different. Not only did this young immortal emperor, like Qin Nan, cultivate the spacetime scripture, but the former also mastered many moves that used the power of spacetime. For example, the formation that the young celestial emperor had created earlier was made entirely of the power of time and space. Wouldn't Qin Nan be able to take advantage of the fight to observe? If Nan were to deduce it himself, it would indeed take a lot of time. But now that there was a ready-made move for him to learn, would it still take an especially long time? Big gift? The ancient heavenly lamp spirit was becoming more and more confused. What kind of gift was that? Could it be that there was something wrong with the brains of the utmost Tao celestial venerables of the barbarian lands? Great unity heaven art. Nan soon calmed his thoughts and executed all the martial arts in his body, causing his aura to rise to the maximum. Holy devil Tao jolting saber art. Qin Nan's figure moved, turning into a sky full of afterimages as he slashed out terrifying saber chi. I hope that this young immortal emperor has grasped the same move as Yi Zhaoxian. A thought flashed through Nan's mind. Yi Zhaoxian's move was able to instantly release a move that would normally require 1,000 breaths of time, or even 10,000 breaths of time, to unleash its full power. Its power was not reduced in the slightest, and it was even stronger. If Qin Nan had grasped such a spacetime technique, then Qin Nan would be able to accumulate more power for the heaven battling art. Boom! Boom! Qin Nan and the young immortal emperor clashed once again, causing deafening explosions and shocking gusts of wind. This kid is so strong. The ancient heavenly lamp spirit was shocked when he saw the situation. The cultivation method that this kid was cultivating seemed to be no small matter. It was extremely extraordinary. Don't tell me. I've really outsmarted myself? The ancient heavenly lamp spirit could not help but have such a thought. Oni Dao End Realm heavenly venerable, and such a powerful one at that, could there really be something wrong with his head? Impossible, absolutely impossible. According to my guess, this guy must have made a mistake. This guy came from a barbarian land. Although he accidentally found out about the spacetime temple, he probably doesn't know how terrifying it is. No matter what this guy is planning, it will definitely be for naught in the end. The ancient heavenly lamp spirit thought in his heart, and his expression became cold. Humph, you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You really don't know what's good for you. I told you to leave, but you didn't, and you even dared to scheme against the young immortal emperor. This time, you will definitely die. At this point, it suddenly saw the young immortal emperor unleash a peerless technique. It was extremely domineering as it shattered Qin Nan's countless saber chi and charged towards Qin Nan. Qin Nan blocked it, but he did not expect that this was just a feint from the young immortal emperor. A majestic steel shadow appeared above Qin Nan's head and fiercely pressed down on Qin Nan. Qin Nan had no time to dodge and could only take it head-on. The ancient heavenly lamp spirit was very familiar with this steel shadow. It was the Spacetime Saint's steel. This move is going to seriously injure the kid even if he doesn't die. The ancient heavenly lamp spirit was overjoyed. However, before it could laugh to its heart's content, it immediately saw Qin Nan throwing a punch at it. The terrifying fist intent was coated with the power of spacetime. Inside Qin Nan's body was circulating a technique that was identical to the young immortal emperor's. The spacetime scripture? The ancient heavenly lamp spirit was astounded. It could not believe its eyes. How did someone from a barbarian land practice the spacetime scripture? Impossible. Was it possible that the man was not from a barbarian land, but from the heavens and worlds? Or perhaps the man had broken through the seal and entered the heavens and worlds? Impossible, this is simply impossible. The ancient heavenly lamp spirit quickly denied it. None was it the first or the second reason. There was no way it was possible. Wait a minute. The ancient heavenly lamp spirit suddenly thought of another possibility. The spacetime light that had been destroyed in the Blue Dome. In the ancient times, the clear dragon heaven-verifying seal had brought a few people into the spacetime light. Perhaps the people had found the spacetime scripture by chance in the spacetime light. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2668. F***CK. That must be it. How King lucky is he? Fong the ancient heavenly lamp spirit could not help but curse. Then it knew what was going on with this spacetime light. Many strange creatures born in the Blue Dome had entered it before. But in such a short time, how could someone from the spacetime temple pass the spacetime canon to you? This is it. Fong the ancient heavenly lamp spirit's heart sank. A guy from a barbaric place with such powerful battle strength and cultivated the spacetime canon, defeating this young celestial emperor was only a matter of time. If this also meant that it had to recognize this barbarian as its master. But then again, this kid's battle strength is so strong, and he cultivated the spacetime canon, so he's not bad. If he was in the myriad realms, he could have taken the title of young celestial emperor. Fong the ancient heavenly lamp spirit repeatedly comforted itself in its heart. After its mood recovered, it slowly said, "Boy, I really didn't expect you to cultivate the spacetime canon. It seems that I have completely underestimated you before. Kid, what's your name?" "Junior is Qin Nan," Qin Nan answered as he fought. "You're Qin Nan?" The ancient heavenly lamp spirit was shocked again. It had heard a lot about Qin Nan in the Blue Dome. After all, Qin Nan was the owner of the vast dragon-proof heavenly seal. "Senior, is there a problem?" Qin Nan asked calmly. "No, there's no problem," the spirit of the ancient heavenly lamp replied. His original mood was suddenly lifted. One had to know that the vast dragon-proof heavenly seal and the 7 great treasures were like fire and water. Not long ago, the 7 great treasures had sealed the vast dragon-proof heavenly seal. Would the 7 great treasures let the vast dragon-proof heavenly seal go? Would they watch the latter become a supreme celestial emperor? Absolutely. Of course not. The 7 great treasures would definitely set up a trap to kill Qin Nan and let the vast dragon-proof heavenly seal be sealed forever. At that time, as long as Qin Nan died, it would be greatly damaged, but wouldn't it regain its freedom? Of course, nothing was absolute. The 7 supreme treasures might not necessarily be able to kill Qin Nan. After all, no one knew what would happen next. Since that's the case, I might as well choose a neutral point of view. I won't help Qin Nan too much, but I won't hurt Qin Nan too much either. This way, no matter what the outcome is, it will be beneficial to me. With this thought, the ancient heavenly lamp spirit was in a good mood. Recognizing this brat Qin Nan as his master was only beneficial to it. As for losing face? That was even more impossible. The vast dragon verifying heavenly seal had already acknowledged Qin Nan. What was there to lose? I truly did not expect it to be you. The spirit of the ancient lamp said in a calmer tone, Qin Nan, I've acknowledged your strength. I still stand by my words. As long as you're able to bring me some benefits, I'll give you my help. My words were a bit too harsh, don't mind it. How about this, if you can break through to the Supreme Heavenly Venerate this time, I will tell you how to break the seal as a compensation. What do you think? Qin Nan said. Nan was slightly startled after hearing this, but he immediately smiled and said, Thank you, Senior. With the help of the ancient lamp's spirit, it would save him a lot of trouble and time. That's all for now. Defeat the young immortal emperor first. I will wait for you in the depths of the ancient lamp. The spirit of the ancient lamp nodded with satisfaction and continued to watch the battle. Time passed. As time passed, the battle between Qin Nan and the young immortal emperor became more intense. Because after figuring out the crux of the matter, the spirit of the ancient lamp found Qin Nan to be more pleasing to the eye. It only felt that this brat was not bad in all aspects and had unlimited potential. After some time, the spirit of the ancient lamp's eyes suddenly lit up. Qin Nan had just used the Great Evolution World Mountain to shatter the young immortal emperor's 3 space-time arrays and cleverly used the aftershock to hit the young immortal emperor's body, causing him to retreat continuously. Little the young immortal emperor's mind was disrupted and needed at least a breath's time to recover. This was a great opportunity to pursue the victory and injure the young immortal emperor in one move. However, Qin Nan's next move completely stunned the spirit of the ancient lamp. This at such a critical moment, Qin Nan actually retreated, backward by more than 10,000 feet. What is he doing? Qin Nan, what are you doing? This is such a good opportunity, why are you retreating? The ancient lamp couldn't help but ask with a hint of anger in its tone. After all, he was a Tao and heavenly venerate. Didn't he have any battle awareness? It's not easy to meet a worthy opponent, I don't want to end so early. Qin Nan smiled faintly and fought with the young immortal emperor again. The spirit of the ancient lamp. Is there something wrong with this guy's brain? Doesn't this guy know that after defeating the young immortal emperor, he still needs a lot of time to refine the ancient lamp? He also needs a lot of time to familiarize himself with the ancient lamp? Moreover, isn't he going to become a supreme celestial venerable in half a year? Shouldn't he end it early and look for other treasures to increase his strength quickly? Suddenly, the spirit of the ancient lamp found something wrong. Qin Nan, don't tell me that you don't want to defeat the young immortal emperor because you want to observe his moves and learn them. The spirit of the ancient lamp couldn't help but ask. Senior, you found out. When I got the space-time cannon, I didn't get the corresponding moves. Now is a good opportunity. Qin Nan replied. Qin Nan, are you out of your mind? How can you be so ignorant, so stupid? The spirit of the ancient lamp couldn't help but scold. Calm. Wonderful book house. Chapter 2669. Qin Nan's face immediately turned cold. You better get this straight. I am about to become the owner of the ancient square heaven lamp. As an artifact spirit, how dare you speak to me like this? If there is a next time, don't blame me for being rude. The ancient square heaven lamp's spirit became even angrier. Oh, you have quite the temper. Wasn't it for your own good that I said that to you just now? Do you know that the 7 treasures will definitely take this opportunity to make a move on you? Do you know that what you lack the most now is time? You should know that, right? But why are you wasting such precious time on such meaningless things? Qin Nan said indifferently, Why is it meaningless? I am borrowing the young, immortal emperor to cultivate the space-time canon. When the time comes, as long as I cultivate the space-time canon to a higher level and master more space-time moves, my battle strength will definitely increase a lot. This is much better than taking 1 or 2 useless treasures, right? The ancient square heaven lamp's spirit sneered. If that is really the case, it is indeed not bad. But you think too highly of yourself. The space-time canon is the legacy of the space-time temple. How can it be so easy to cultivate and break through? This young immortal emperor has mastered a move that has been passed down for countless years. It is unpredictable and mysterious. How can you deduce it just by looking at the surface? Do you think that you have an innate martial body and have unparalleled talent in martial arts? Let me tell you, if you continue like this, you will only return empty-handed. Even if you gain a little enlightenment and improve a little, it is meaningless to you. A barbarian was a barbarian. He wanted to use this method to improve himself. Did he think that the space-time canon was a technique from this barbarian land? It was simply laughable. It seems that Senior doesn't believe me at all. Qin Nan suddenly laughed and said, In that case, do you dare to make a bet with me? The ancient square heaven lamp's spirit narrowed his eyes. Qin Nan, oh Qin Nan, I said so much just now, but you are still stubborn and even want to make a bet with me? Not bad. Qin Nan smiled. The wager is very simple. I've already cultivated the space-time scripture to the 3rd level. If I can cultivate the space-time scripture to the 5th level in the next 3 months and grasp 1 or 2 moves from this young immortal emperor, then you'll have to do your best to help me break through to the supreme empyrean level. If I can't do it, even if I defeat the young immortal emperor, I won't refine the ancient lamp. What do you think? The ancient lamp's spirit laughed out of anger. Fine, 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 since you are so confident, I will bet with you. It really didn't expect that this Qin Nan would be so arrogant and dare to propose such a bet. Suddenly, the spirit of the ancient lamp recalled something. The anger in its heart gradually dissipated as its eyes flickered. This was a completely unexpected surprise. At that time, Qin Nan would definitely not succeed, and it would be able to regain its freedom unscathed. It would even be able to participate in the plans of the 7 supreme treasures. Qin Nan, I have to thank you for your arrogance. The ancient heavenly lamp spirit thought to itself. Until if it failed? That was impossible. Even though Qin Nan dared to say so because he had a strong innate martial talent, it was not some ordinary martial art, but the sacred scripture of time and space. How could its moves be comprehended just by observing and analyzing them? I'll see how you cry in 3 months. The ancient heavenly lamp spirits will gradually sank as it thought. It no longer cared about the dojo. Meanwhile, in a certain corner of the small world, golden lines suddenly appeared on the surface of a pitch-black lake, forming into a formation. Not long after, a mysterious figure wearing a straw hat and a straw raincoat slowly appeared from the lake, followed by the sound of splashing water. Those old fogies shut it down really quickly. Young master had to spend so much effort to sneak in. The mysterious figure stood on the surface of the water and stretched lazily. Hee, I told you to come earlier, but you didn't. You were so slow along the way, like a woman. A strange voice appeared behind him, as if it was filled with disdain toward the mysterious figure. What are you talking about? Do you believe I'm going to beat the crap out of you? Who are you going to beat up? This brat has always been procrastinating and dilly-dallying. Even I don't like him. Don't look at him if you don't like him. Who cares if you look at him? How childish of you! Voices rang out one after another. There were old and young, male and female voices. The mysterious figure was already used to it. He rolled his eyes out of habit and walked to the lake. He took out a stone plate and a stone bird from his sleeve. The mysterious figure used his finger as a pen and wrote mysterious runes. He inserted them into the stone bird, which immediately emitted a faint glow. Its eyes, in particular, seemed to have come alive. "Boss asked me to tell you that Lin Xiaoji has gone into the ancient heavenly lamp," the stone bird said proudly. "Young man, you've made the right choice." The mysterious figure's eyes glittered. No. The mysterious figure was none other than Ji Xian. "However, things have changed. There's no need to guide Lin Xiaoji anymore. Go and retrieve the other 3 items," Ji Xian said. Ji Xian wore a wry expression. "Me? It's not like you don't know, my side is all ready." When he finished speaking, the stone bird glared at him, snorted, and the light was extinguished. "Pfft, you stupid bird, who gave you the right to be so arrogant in front of me? I'm going to roast you one day." Ji Xian slapped the stone bird a few times and cursed before putting the stone plate away. Calm. Wonderful book house. Chapter 2670. Time passed bit by bit. Half a month later, in the mysterious forbidden area, Song and Yi Zhaoxian finally arrived at their target location, which was also the deepest part of the mysterious forbidden area. Only in front of them was a mausoleum garden. There were many tombs inside, densely packed together. There were no less than 50,000 tombs. These graves were only 30 to 50 feet tall, and were made of a type of dark red ancient stone. They were very close to each other, and it felt very crowded, as if there was no other place to bury them. Song and Yi Zhaoxian looked at each other. They secretly channeled their cultivation techniques, and walked into the cemetery. When they took their first step, their pupils constricted almost at the same time. A chill exploded in their hearts, and their hair stood on end. They felt as if they had not entered a cemetery, but the nest of a group of ancient ferocious beasts that could devour heaven and earth. "The art of all righteousness, protect me." Song and Yi Zhaoxian made hand seals at the same time. Golden runes immediately appeared on their bodies, and covered them from head to toe. Only then did that terrifying feeling dissipate from their hearts. Leaf the immortal Zhaoxian looked ahead. The cemetery was still the same as before. It was not grand or old, and it was still crowded and messy. He narrowed his eyes and said, "Let's begin." Song nodded slightly. With a thought, a cut appeared on his 5 fingers, and a drop of pale golden blood seeped out. He made a claw seal and grabbed into the void in front of him. He began to chant. Yi Zhaoxian took out a tattered scripture scroll and a dark red brush. He looked at the scripture scroll while writing in the void. Ru. This went on for about 6 hours. After their faces turned slightly pale, a sudden force suddenly descended on the entire cemetery. Ru. In an instant, the 50,000 graves of various sizes began to tremble. Faint and terrifying roars seemed to have traveled across time and space to reach their ears. The chi and blood in their bodies surged, and their faces turned even paler. Whoosh! Ru. All of a sudden, Song's fingertips and the tip of Yi Zhaoxian's dark red brush exploded with a golden light. It turned into the shape of a 10-clawed golden dragon and swiftly moved around the tomb. Ru. 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 A violent gust of wind blew out of nowhere and swept through the entire cemetery. The 10-clawed golden dragons were all affected and flew unsteadily. However, they were not blown down and continued to swim forward. After the 10-clawed golden dragons flew 9 laps, they finally split into 2 groups. They returned to the bottom left of the cemetery and entered 2 tombs. "It's those 2. Song and Yi Zhaoxian immediately quickened their pace and walked in the gale, arriving in front of the 2 tombs. They did not speak or look at each other. They each took out a talisman and stuck it in front of the graves by 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 graves. Calm the trembling mausoleum immediately quieted down, and a half-foot tall tunnel appeared. It was pitch black inside, and no one knew where it led to. The two of them stepped into it. Time passed. 2 days later, the formation suddenly appeared in front of one of the graves. Song's figure walked out from it. I only have 6 hours. If I wait any longer, Yi Zhaoxian will be suspicious. Time is of the essence. Song thought. The thought flashed across his mind. He immediately sprinted toward the front of the battlefield at a shocking speed. He had already traveled through the terrifying battlefield once, thus he was quite familiar with it. It only took him 2 hours to reach the place where he stepped on the bone. I only have 2 hours. Song glanced at his surroundings and said calmly. Ha ha ha, you are really cautious. I only have a wisp of my will left. I can enter your divine sense and talk to you. Jitsang, oh Jitsang, do you dare to open your divine sense? The hoarse voice echoed in Song's mind again. Why wouldn't I? It's my honor that Senior is willing to enter my divine sense, Song said with a smile. Senior, I've already opened my divine sense. Feel free to come in. As soon as he finished the sentence, wisps of gray aura gathered from all directions. They turned into a ray of light and entered Song's divine sense. No wonder you're so straightforward. I didn't expect your divine sense to have so many secrets, the ray of light said. Kangas, they rushed to the cemetery, they conversed via voice transmission. Now that things have come to this, I'm sure you're willing to tell me your real name, right? The ray of light shuddered and finally turned into the blurry appearance of an old man who chuckled. 10,000 years have passed, and the world has changed. Cultivator Jitsang, do you still remember me? Song was startled. His eyes flickered with astonishment as he recalled something. How did you survive? The ray of light said with a hollow laugh. How I survived is none of your business. I've found you because I want to make a deal with you. If you help me to be reborn and promise me something, I'll tell you one of the shocking secrets of the Blue Dome. Song squinted. Senior, there's something I don't understand. Why didn't you ask Yi Zhaoxian for help instead of me? Or rather, why didn't you ask both of us at the same time? Wouldn't it be more beneficial to both of you? The ray of light said calmly. According to what you've said, there are indeed many benefits, but they're only a small benefit. One more person means one more risk of being exposed, so it's not worth it. As for why I'm only looking for you, it's related to the secret. A few thoughts crossed Song's mind as he said, Senior, you're only left with a wisp of your will. It's going to be extremely difficult to help you be reborn. The ray of light fell silent for a moment before he spoke again. His voice was eerie, as if it could penetrate one's heart. Jitsang, I'll only tell you the secret if you agree to it. If you don't even think about learning a single word. Jitsang, I know you very well. Given your personality, are you really willing to serve the 7 treasures? Are you really willing to lower your head? Are you willing to be a slave? No, you're definitely not willing to. You must be holding back, waiting for the right time to turn the tables. But will the 7 treasures give you a chance so easily? Will they give you so many benefits without doing anything? Besides, how long will it take for you to grow stronger and have the strength to turn the tables? But it's different now. You'll be able to turn the tables soon after knowing the secret. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 26:71. Time gradually passed. 3 months were gone in the blink of an eye. During this period, a series of shocking battles took place in the small world. The reason being that the number of living beings that were lured into the small world was enormous. Even though they were unable to refine the artifacts or compete for the Jade of Origin, there were still other fortunate encounters that attracted their attention. In addition to it, Huang Fuju, the Celestial Tree, Eternal Night Heaven Highness, Huangyun Heaven Highness, Mingqiu Heaven Highness, and the rest of the authorities had each claimed a piece of treasure. They did not stop there. They continued to make their way to the other forbidden grounds. At this point, the competition for the remaining artifacts was even more intense. Some Heaven Highnesses had even fallen. After witnessing the situation, Princess Miao Miao and the others decisively gave up competing with one another after refining one of the artifacts, and proceeded to search for the origin jades instead. The three of them had reached a consensus. At the last moment, at least two of them had to ascend the real mountain of origin together. If all three of them could ascend, that would be the best. But if only one of them could ascend, none of them would go, and they would hand over the treasure. They would give it to the other authorities of the Alliance. Meanwhile, in the Square Heaven Ancient Lamp, the spirit of the Square Heaven Ancient Lamps will surge like a tide from the depths of the mist. Time's up. Qin Nan, oh Qin Nan, you must be very regretful now, right? Ha ha. Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in this world. The spirit of the ancient Square Heaven Lamp had such a thought. Its enormous will soon loomed over the dojo. Qin Nan and the young immortal emperor were still fighting. Qin Nan looked completely different from 3 months ago. His robe was in tatters, his combed hair was disheveled, and his hands and chest were stained with dried blood. He looked extremely miserable. In addition to it, Qin Nan was at a disadvantage in the battle. After all, the young immortal emperor was supported by the Square Heaven Ancient Lamp. If he could not defeat the young immortal emperor quickly, the injuries he had suffered and the energy he had consumed would gradually recover. Qin Nan was different. Once his strength was exhausted, it could not be recovered. Of course, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that the spirit of the ancient Square Heaven Lamp instantly felt that Qin Nan's aura was exactly the same as it had been 3 months ago. In other words, the spacetime scripture that Qin Nan cultivated didn't make a breakthrough because of this. Ha ha, Qin Nan. The spirit of the ancient Square Heaven Lamp couldn't help but laugh at the sky. I advised you with good intentions before, but you insisted on going your own way. Are you okay now? 3 months have been wasted, and you won't be able to get the ancient Square Heaven Lamp. Right now, its heart was extremely happy. This was the first time it was so happy after being placed in the Blue Dome. It was as if Qin Nan did not hear its voice. He continued to attack. His figure flashed, and saber chi slashed out. Qin Nan, why are you still wasting your energy? Time is up. Everything is over. Before the spirit of the ancient Square Heaven Lamp could finish, it suddenly realized that something wasn't right. Each of Qin Nan's moves felt strange, as if he had turned into a puppet, repeating the same moves repeatedly. His movements were extremely stiff, and did not seem to be coordinated at all. What's going on? Did something go wrong? The thought crossed the spirit of the ancient Square Heaven Lamp's mind. A strong will immediately encapsulated Qin Nan's figure. It soon noticed that even though Qin Nan's eyes were engulfed in golden flames, his pupils had lost their focus, as if he had lost his mind. It feels like the spirit of the ancient Square Heaven Lamp was startled. At that instant, an unexpected change took place. Bang! A thunderous crash took place. It felt like several seals were broken inside Qin Nan's body. The will of a certain martial art that he was executing skyrocketed. A formidable space-time aura burst out of Qin Nan's body and swept across the dojo like a strong gust of wind. The young immortal emperor standing in front of Qin Nan seemed to be aware of it. He came to a stop and unleashed the sacred scripture of time and space rapidly. He uttered a deep roar as if he was cheering. The sacred scripture of time and space had a breakthrough. On top of that, it did not stop there after reaching the 4th layer. It had reached the 5th layer. Qin Nan's eyes immediately returned to normal, as if he had regained his consciousness. Ha ha ha! Qin Nan could not help but burst out laughing in joy. The harvest this time was really too great. Over the past 3 months, he had been fighting and comprehending the secrets of the sacred scripture of time and space. It felt like he was peeling off silk from a cocoon. He was able to fully comprehend the secrets of the sacred scripture of time and space. This kind of sense of accomplishment was also very great. Cultivator, thanks. Qin Nan immediately bowed to the young immortal emperor in front of him. Even though the young immortal emperor was only a will that had been summoned like a puppet, Qin Nan had treated the young immortal emperor as both a teacher and a friend. The young immortal emperor was unaware of it. He attacked Qin Nan again. Qin Nan defended himself while asking, "Senior, are you still there?" The spirit of the ancient square heaven lamp blurted out as if it had just woken up from a dream, "I'm here. Senior, I'll show you what I've learned and comprehended over the past 3 months." Qin Nan burst out laughing. He threw a punch forward. Countless runes gathered at the tip of his fist and formed a mystical space-time formation. Calm. Wonderful book room. Calm. Chapter 2672. When the young immortal emperor's divine ability landed on the formation, there was only a loud boom. In less than a breath's time, the divine ability was completely neutralized and disappeared without a trace. It was as if nothing had happened. This was the first formation that Qin Nan had used in his first fight with the young immortal emperor. This one of the abilities used the mysteries of the canon of spacetime to mobilize the power of spacetime and create a formation. It could add or reverse time to the will of various abilities, completely dispersing them and causing them to vanish. How there was no doubt that this was a very terrifying method. In the process of fighting with others, it could be used to great effect. Moreover, Qin Nan felt that if he cultivated the spacetime scripture to a higher level, his understanding of time and space would become deeper. Then, this formation would be able to evolve and not just neutralize divine abilities. Qin Nan didn't know the true name of this formation, so he gave it a name. It was called the Time Reversal Formation. There's one more move. Qin Nan's hands changed and he formed a seal. Wisps of gray, snake-shaped aura immediately wrapped around his body. Dark golden runes also appeared under his feet, forming a formation that was 30 feet wide. Qin Nan's aura immediately changed greatly. It was as if he was hidden in a dense fog, making it impossible to see clearly. This was the spacetime formation that Qin Nan wanted. After setting up this formation, if Qin Nan wanted to use a divine ability that required 1,000 breaths of time to unleash its strongest power, Qin Nan would only need an instant to achieve this effect. No. The current formation had a limit. At most, it could only convert 1,000 breaths of time into 1 breath. In other words, when Qin Nan used the heaven-fighting grand technique, the effect of 1 breath was equivalent to 1,000 breaths of time. 1 day was equivalent to 1,000 days, and 1 year was equivalent to 1,000 years. Of course, this formation could not be used all the time. Using this formation consumed a lot of spacetime power. With Qin Nan's current realm, he could only maintain it for 2 hours at most. After that, he would need to recover before he could use it again. However, even with all these restrictions, this formation was still very useful to Qin Nan. It was enough for Qin Nan to accumulate a terrifying momentum for the heaven-fighting grand technique. This formation was named the Spacetime Great Change Formation by Qin Nan. At the same time, a rare look of shock appeared on the face of the ancient lamp spirit. It even wondered if it had fallen into an illusion. He had made consecutive breakthroughs in the spacetime scripture and even learned 2 spacetime moves. This was it had only been a short 3 months since they had shared it. The ancient lamp spirit could not help but ask, "Qin Nan, did you awaken one of the 100 divine bodies?" This only a person with an innate martial body. No. Qin Nan shook his head. When his soul had returned to the antiquity times, he had occupied Lin Xiaoji's body and awakened the innate martial body. No. Yes, this was his own body now. He had not awakened any divine body. Of course, Qin Nan also felt that his current body had a terrifying martial talent. It was very likely that he had the innate martial body. The spirit of the celestial pole list had told him the way to awaken the innate martial body. However, Qin Nan did not have the right opportunity to verify it. You must have it. It's just that you haven't awakened it yet. The spirit of the ancient lamp collected its thoughts. It said in excitement, Qin Nan, I've lost the bet. I have to admit that I've underestimated you. I failed to recognize MT Tai. Although it had lost the bet this time, it was not unhappy. Instead, it was a little excited. That was one of the 100 divine bodies, the innate martial body. According to legend, this body was related to the 10 innate martial bodies. Everything, even if it recognized Qin Nan as its master, if it could help Qin Nan awaken the innate martial body, it would be able to obtain great benefits from it. In other words, even if it won the bet this time and knew that Qin Nan had an unawakened innate martial body, it would try its best to give Qin Nan a way out and let Qin Nan refine the ancient lamp. Senior, you flatter me. I hope you can fulfill your promise and help me to become a supreme celestial master. Qin Nan laughed heartily. Of course. The ancient lamp spirit laughed and said, You're very good. I'm convinced. It's not shameful for the ancient lamp to recognize you as its master. By the way, Qin Nan, quickly defeat the young immortal emperor and refine the ancient lamp first. Nan frowned. Fang, the ancient lamp spirit, instantly understood what he was thinking. The corner of its mouth twitched and it said, Don't worry. I can evolve the young immortal emperor in this test. After you refine the ancient lamp, I can also evolve the young, immortal emperor for you so that you can grow stronger with your battles. Not only that, with your current cultivation, you can also activate a kind of divine power of the ancient lamp and evolve the flame of the heavens. This flame is very mysterious. It can improve your martial arts talent and even let you enter a state of enlightenment. Then, the ancient lamp spirit thought of something. It gritted its teeth and said, I can also help you evolve the sound of the heavens. This sound contains endless Tao. Anyone who listens to it will be able to sublimate and break through the shackles. Qin Nan's eyes lit up and he said, Thank you, Senior. I'll go and defeat the young immortal emperor now. On the eve of the new year, the WeChat public account will be exploding. Everyone can search for the best monster, click follow and wait. In addition, there are 3 articles in the public account. The Secret of the God of War's Realm is also updated. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2673. Even though the battle that had lasted for 3 months had depleted half of his energy, his strength had improved significantly after the breakthrough of the sacred manuscript of time and space and the mastery of 2 spacetime formations. It felt like he had been reborn, allowing his strength to improve significantly. In addition to that, the more Qin Nan mastered the spacetime canon, the more effective he was at suppressing the young immortal emperor. As a result, Qin Nan only spent an hour in his weakened state to turn the tables and defeat the young immortal emperor. Qin Nan, follow this path, the spirit of the ancient lamp said. The thick mist in front of the dojo dispersed on its own, forming a path. Qin Nan immediately flew into it. A few moments later, a faint blue lake with a circumference of over 1,000 zhang appeared in Qin Nan's vision. A huge boulder stood at the center of the lake, with a white fiery lotus floating on top of it. Beside the lotus stood a young man. The young man had black eyes and a slender figure. He wore a loose white robe with immortal light flowing on it from time to time. It felt like he was a messenger from a distant world. Qin Nan, allow me to formally introduce myself. I am Feng Ruyu, the spirit of the ancient lamp, Feng Ruyu said with a faint smile. Greetings, Senior Feng. Qin Nan brought his fists together and bowed. He looked at the white lotus and said, Senior Feng, do I just have to refine the lotus? Indeed. Feng Ruyu nodded slightly and said, however, the refining method is a little different from usual. You'll have to drip 3 drops of blood on it first. Then, starting from the 3rd petal, you'll refine it from left to right. Then, reverse the process and refine it 3 times. Qin Nan immediately sat down with his legs crossed and began refining the lotus. In a way, it was Qin Nan's first time refining a treasure from the Blue Dome. Qin Nan had obtained the clear dragon-proof seal with Zhoudi's guidance. As for the mysterious 33 runes, he had obtained them by refining Huang Fu Ju's body. Obviously, refining a Blue Dome treasure, especially a treasure of the level of the ancient square heaven lamp, was not an easy task. Even with Qin Nan's current cultivation, he still spent a full 20 hours to completely refine the white flame lotus. Shock, a human scene was born at this moment. The fiery white lotus seemed to have awakened from its slumber. It flew into Qin Nan's body and landed in his divine sense, merging with Qin Nan's aura. Qin Nan suddenly had a feeling that since he was in control of the ancient square heavenly lamp, he could easily summon it with a single thought. No, just like that, the 10,000 feet wide lake began to expand rapidly. Ethereal singing voices resounded in the sky. They were loud, clear, and stirred up the hearts of the people. From today onward, you are the owner of the ancient square heaven lamp, Feng Ruyu said with a smile. His smile was more sincere and friendly than before. Senior Feng, please take care of me in the future, Qin Nan said. You're treating me like an outsider. I'm the spirit of the ancient square heaven lamp. I'm here to assist you. Feng Ruyu waved his hand. He pointed at the expanding lake and said, Qin Nan, there's something you must remember. The higher your cultivation, the bigger the lake will be, and the more power you will be able to unleash from the ancient square heaven lamp. Understood. Qin Nan nodded and asked, Senior Feng, how should I break the seal of the clear dragon-proof seal after I achieve the Supreme Highness realm? Let me sense the clear dragon-proof seal through the ancient square heaven lamp, Feng Ruyu said. Feng Ruyu said and turned into specks of light that filled the sky. He directly disappeared into the ancient lamp. The fiery white lotus in Qin Nan's divine sense shuddered and grew stronger. TSK, as expected of the clear dragon-proof seal. The Dongwang Great Illusionary Chain and the other artifacts have only barely sealed the clear dragon-proof seal with the formation they set up. It's very easy to break the seal. Once you achieve the Supreme Highness realm, you will be able to sense Senior Wu Di. You can work with him to break the formation, Ruyu said. At that time, you can also activate the Square Heaven Ancient Lantern and the 2 spacetime formations that you have mastered. You can attack the east and west sides of the Clear Dragon Witness Heavenly Seal respectively. This can increase the speed of your unsealing. Alright, let's F***K me. Feng Ruyu was about to say something when he sensed something. He cursed and exclaimed, The 33 Heavens Talisman? Why do you have the 33 Heavens Talisman? Wasn't it obtained by someone else tens of thousands of years ago? It asked. Following her words, the 33 runes that had been dormant on Qin Nan's bones emitted a faint glow, as if they were replying to Feng Ruyu. So this artifact is called the 33 Heavens Talisman. This is something I obtained after refining a cultivator's avatar. Qin Nan's eyes glittered. He immediately asked, Senior Feng, do you know what kind of power this artifact possesses? F***ck, your luck is simply indescribable. Feng Ruyu was surprised and overjoyed. He said, Qin Nan, this 33 Heavens Talisman is impressive. It was even stronger than the ancient square heaven lamp at its peak, and only slightly weaker than the Dongwang Great Illusionary Chain and the other artifacts. It might be damaged now, but it's not any weaker than the ancient square heaven lamp. Most importantly, with your current cultivation, you might be able to break the seal of the clear dragon-proof seal in advance after activating the 33 Heavens Talisman. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2674. Qin Nan's heart shuddered. He immediately asked, Senior Fang, is that true? Fang Ruyu replied, Of course. Kid, you might not know this, but there's a saying in the heavens and realms that talisman formations come from the same source, regardless of life or death. In other words, talisman Dao and formation Dao have the same origin. There's not much difference between them. The 33 Heavens Talisman was forged by 10 top talisman formation masters in the heavens and realms. It's considered one of the best talisman Dao treasures. The Dongwang Taishu chain and the others used a great formation to seal the bright dragon heaven verifying seal. Therefore, the power of the 33 Heavens Talisman can break the formation quickly. Fang Ryu paused for a moment and said, Of course, it's only possible to break the seal in advance. After all, the 33 Heavens Talisman is already damaged. Your cultivation is only in the Heaven Venerate realm, so you can't fully utilize its power. However, even if you can't break the seal in advance, you'll only need 100 breaths time to break the seal after you become a Supreme Highness. Before that, you'll need at least 10 days to break the seal. Qin Nan was overjoyed upon hearing this. Even though he couldn't be sure, it was still a good thing. It was an unexpected gain. By the way, Senior Fang, how do I activate the 33 Heavens Talisman? Qin Nan quickly collected his thoughts and said with a wry smile, Even though the treasure is in my body, I can't activate it. Fang Ryu burst out laughing and said, Qin Nan, oh Qin Nan, you haven't refined it completely. How are you going to activate it? You've inherited the 33 Heavens Talisman from someone else. Even though you don't need to take the test anymore, you still need to refine it again to be able to control it like the square heaven ancient lamp and activate it. I know a thing or two about refining it. Hurry up and give it a try. Release your divine sense and immerse it in the runes, then. Qin Nan said. Qin Nan sat down with his legs crossed again. TSK, this brat really gives me one surprise after another. Fang Ruyu's figure appeared. Looking at Qin Nan, he sighed in his heart. This guy is not simple. Maybe the Dongwang Great Void Chain can't kill him. Fang Ruyu's eyes flickered. If Qin Nan survived this tribulation and stepped into the realm of a supreme celestial venerate, then it would be hard to say what kind of ending he would end up in. I'll do my best to assist this kid for the time being. Fang Ryu quickly made up his mind. Time passed bit by bit. This time, Qin Nan spent 2 days and 2 nights to completely refine the Saint Ruler Talisman. That mysterious feeling once again surfaced in Qin Nan's mind. At the same time, Qin Nan also sensed that this talisman Dao Supreme Treasure seemed to have fallen into a deep slumber. Although Qin Nan could activate it, the amount of power he could unleash was very little, far less than the ancient square heaven lamp. How is it? Can you sense the artifact spirit? Fang Ryu immediately asked. I can sense the artifact spirit, but it seems to be seriously injured and has fallen into a deep slumber. I can only sense a little fluctuation of its consciousness. Qin Nan opened his eyes and said, The Saint Ruler Talisman of 33 Heavens is seriously damaged. Fang Ryu thought for a moment and said, Although this is not good for you to activate it, it may be a good thing. Before the great change in the Blue Dome, it had a very good relationship with the Dongwang Great Void Chain and other supreme treasures. Nan was stunned and said, The great change in the Blue Dome? What is that? Fang Ryu was silent for a moment and then said, At that time, the Dongwang Great Void Chain and other supreme treasures since the death of my master, so there was a rebellion and destroyed many treasures loyal to my master. Nan could not help but think of the battlefield he saw in the land of divine breath. Let's not talk about these things for now. You'd better activate the Saint Ruler Talisman of 33 Heavens and the ancient square heaven lamp and start to try. Feng Ruyu changed the topic. Qin Nan vaguely felt that Feng Ruyu was hiding a lot, but since it did not want to say, he could not force it to say, so he nodded and calmed down. Activate. Qin Nan infused the power in his body into the Saint Ruler Talisman of 33 Heavens and the ancient square heaven lamp. These two treasures immediately bloomed with a dazzling brilliance, and a terrifying aura was released from them, like ancient fierce beasts opening their eyes. Boom! Boom! Two shocking roars came from Qin Nan's body. Then, two mysterious forces were released from the Saint Ruler Talisman of 33 Heavens and the ancient square heaven lamp. In an unbelievable way, they hit the east and west sides of the great dragon-proving heavenly seal. The power of time and space. Qin Nan immediately activated the time and space cannon and sent down waves of power of time and space to follow behind. The great dragon-proving heavenly seal, which had been silent, suddenly shook violently as if it had sensed something. On its surface, the great formation that had disappeared resurfaced. Like countless overlapping spider webs, it wrapped around the great dragon-proving heavenly seal tightly. Boom! The great formation seemed to have a mind of its own. The countless formation patterns turned into illusory figures holding all kinds of weapons and performing all kinds of moves. 3. The power of the Saint Ruler Talisman of 33 Heavens and the ancient square heaven lamp transformed into two godly dragons, one white and one black. They were bathed in the tremendous power of time and space, unleashing a peerless dragon aura and killing in all directions. Qin Nan, you're really something. You've managed to get two little brothers to help you. Suddenly, a surprised and joyful voice came from the seal. It was Wu Di. Calm. Wonderful book house. Chapter 2675. Qin Nan was overjoyed. He immediately asked, "How is it? Can I lift the seal for you?" "Damn it, this formation is very strange. I'm not sure if it can be lifted in advance, but let's give it a try." Wu Di cursed. Then, he turned to the 33 Heavens Saint Ruler Talisman and ancient square heaven lamp and shouted, "My two little brothers, give it your all. If I manage to break the seal in advance, I'll give you some guidance." Feng Ruyu shuddered and said, "Brother Wu, don't worry, I'll do my best." Wu Di's level was higher than the Dongwang Taishu chain and the others. It would be a great benefit if Wu Di could give them some guidance and build a good relationship with him. Let's not waste any more time. I'm going to break the formation with all my might. Wu Di fell silent again. Time gradually passed. 5 days had passed in the blink of an eye. The force in Qin Nan's body was finally depleted, leaving not a single trace of it. The 33 Heavens talismans and the ancient lamp calmed down after losing their source of energy. They no longer unleashed their power. It's up to Brother Wu whether he can lift the seal or not. "This is the best we can do," Feng Ruyu said. Qin Nan nodded. Qin Nan nodded and glanced at his divine sense. The heaven-proving seal of the vast dragon was shrouded in a layer of gray mist. He could see rays of different colors flickering and colliding with one another, as if a peerless battle was taking place. Qin Nan withdrew his gaze and sat with his legs crossed. He said, "Senior Feng, there's still some time before the real mountain of origin opens. I'll have to trouble you to summon the young immortal emperor for me. I'll continue cultivating after I recover." "Sure," Qin Nan said. Nan continued to cultivate. The other heaven highnesses continued to compete for the treasures and fortunate encounters. In the blink of an eye, more than 2 months had passed. In a wide lake, there was a giant python with 6 ferocious heads that was tens of thousands of feet long. Its body was constantly swaying, stirring up the entire lake. Each of its heads opened their bloody mouths and fired terrifying divine skills. The scales on its body were emitting different glows too. They intertwined with one another, sometimes forming formations and sometimes guiding the tide. Absorb! Bailan and Shui Mengyao descended from the sky. Their hands performed the same hand seal, summoning a giant door that suppressed the snake. But that was not the end. With a clattering sound, fiery red chains shot out from the door and wrapped around the remaining snake body and its 6 heads, binding them and burning them fiercely. The 6 giant pythons sensed that something was wrong. They struggled violently and roared at the sky. "Princess, hurry!" Bailan and Shui Mengyao exclaimed softly. "Heaven transforming sacred sword." A clear and cold voice echoed in the sky. The large cloud layer turned into a patch of gold. Tight then, the Princess Miao Miao, who had been missing all this time, descended from the sky. She with a golden sword Qi in his hand, he slashed at the 6-headed python at an astonishing speed. Boom! The explosion of sword intent mercilessly destroyed every inch of the 6-headed python's body. A few moments later, the 6-headed python stopped struggling and fell to the ground. Its black blood dyed the lake pitch black. A heaven highness of the self-realm had fallen just like that. Jiang Bailan and Shui Mengyao immediately withdrew their hand seals and flew to the 6 snake heads. They used their fingers as swords and slashed them one by one. A jade badge the size of a palm appeared from the last snake head. It was emitting a bright glow. This was the origin jade. "We've got the last piece." Shui Mengyao picked up the jade badge and said in surprise, "We can go together now. When the time comes, we can give Xiao Nanzi a huge surprise." Princess Miao Miao walked across the lake with a smile. "Looking at the time, it should be almost half a year. Let's recover first." Jiang Bailan chuckled and said, "When the time comes, we can't let Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian underestimate us." A long time later, in a desert, boom! Whoosh! All of a sudden, a boundless energy surged up from beneath the desert, creating craters that were at least 100,000 feet wide. Countless grains of sand soared into the sky. Soon, a figure with monstrous demon chi flew out from the depths of the crater. In his hand was a strange head dripping with blood. "Tui tui tui, you made me eat sand for more than a month." Huang Fuju spat out a few mouthfuls of saliva, then threw the head in his hand far away. "I only found 2 artifacts this time. I almost exposed myself in the end." Huang Fuju looked into the sky with a sorrowful expression. "What is it? Aren't you happy that you found us? If that's the case, why don't you just cancel the relationship and let us go?" An unpleasant voice could be heard. A cold harumph could be heard. "I'm just complaining. Why do you have to be so angry?" Huang Fuju said with a smile. At this moment, at that instant, the 2 artifacts in Huang Fuju's body emitted a glow all of a sudden, as a mystical seal appeared on them, like a map that was guiding them to something. "The real mountain of origin has been opened," said the voice at the beginning. "Oh? That's great." Huang Fuju's eyes flickered. "It's time for me to show them what I've got." Come. The Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2676. At this moment, it wasn't just him. Every heavenly venerate who had obtained a treasure or an origin jade had sensed this strange change. Division on top of that, the heaven highnesses who did not claim the treasure or the jade of origin suddenly realized that the strange creatures were moving in the same direction as if they had received some kind of order. The whole place was shaking vigorously. The real mountain of origin is about to open. Half a year has passed so quickly. It feels like only a day has passed. Sigh, such a pity, I'm not fated to become a supreme highness after all. Even though I didn't qualify for it, I have to take a look at the battle to ascend to the Supreme Highness realm. Of course. This time, Qin Nan, Song He, and Yi Zhaoxian are surely going to undergo some shocking changes. Any of their changes will greatly influence the primary upper realm. The Heaven Highnesses began to make their move. Time to go. In a forest, Ji Xian was riding on a black donkey that had its head pulled back. He shouted and then took out a bottle of wine from his waist and gulped it down. Then, angry voices rang out in his mind. Ji Xian didn't take it to heart. He chuckled and drank even more vigorously. When I first entered the world, I stirred up a storm. 10,000 years have passed, and 10,000 years are not empty. The celestial tree in a blood-stained robe stood with its hands behind it amid the strong wind on a mountain over 10,000 zhang tall. It was gazing into the distance. It had existed in the world for tens of thousands of years. It had experienced the magnificent great era in the past. It had now arrived at the entrance of a new era. It had lived for too long. It only had two paths left. It had to take another step forward and achieve the Supreme Highness realm, or it had to draw a perfect exclamation mark on its long life. Whoosh! Tong! The celestial tree calmed its thoughts. It turned into a peerless ray of light and soared into the sky like an immortal. On the other hand, Ancestor Mingqiu and Heaven Highness Ling Huang bowed solemnly when they saw Heaven Highness Chang Shao and the others among the ruins. I know in my heart that to reach this day, every single one of us is no longer afraid of death. We are prepared to sacrifice ourselves at any moment. Ancestor Mingqiu said, "Therefore, Ling Huang and I thank you. Thank you for giving this opportunity to us two old men, allowing us to do something very meaningful. Colleagues, please be at ease. This time, Mingqiu and I will definitely burn our old bones and help Alliance head Qin Nan step into a supreme position." Emperor Ling Huang said solemnly. "Thank you, seniors." Heavenly Venerable Chang Shao and the others cupped their hands in return. "Come on, let's go." His figure flashed as he moved forward. Yuanzai at the same time, in various parts of this small world. Emperor Evernight glanced up ahead. Feeling a bit cold, he tightened his black robes around his body and stepped forward. Height was as if he was carrying a mountain on his back. Every step he took seemed heavy, leaving clear footprints on the ground. Emperor Celestial Venerable Yun's face was particularly clear in the firelight. One could see his seriousness. She nodded at Celestial Venerable Duan Mu and Celestial Venerable Li Pasheng, and they responded in kind. Then, she broke through the air and flew away. They followed closely behind. From the beginning to the end, the two of them had been one step behind her. This was not because she was slightly stronger than them, but because she was currently carrying 3 great clans on her back. She was also carrying countless years of inheritance and the hope of countless people. 6. Celestial Venerable Feng was very relaxed and carefree. He hummed a nameless song as he walked forward unhurriedly. This was completely different from his usual solemn image. That was because he had already explained everything. Many Celestial Venerable Bao walked together with a bodhisattva. His face was expressionless and meticulous. The bodhisattva beside him had a smile on his face as he walked. Also at this moment, in the small world of the ancient square heaven lamp, for a completely different ancient Buddhist voice sounded from all directions, intertwining with each other. On the surface of the huge lake, white flames burned with astonishing intensity. Qin Nan was in the middle of all this. His upper body was naked as he punched again and again. His body was emitting immortal light that kept flowing. Every punch he threw seemed to contain the truth of heaven and earth. There were thousands of Daos in the world, and they were endlessly profound. Most then, Qin Nan slashed out with his saber. The resplendent saber aura seemed to have come from the endless world. It had an unparalleled power, and it directly chopped the young celestial emperor in front of him into pieces. In the past 2 months, Qin Nan didn't make consecutive breakthroughs in the spacetime canon like last time. He also didn't master 2 spacetime arrays. After all, this young celestial emperor was only a celestial venerable. His own spacetime canon hadn't been cultivated to such a profound level, and he hadn't mastered so many spacetime arrays. It would be quite difficult for Nan to continue learning from him. No, however, Qin Nan still gained a lot. His spacetime canon was about to break through to the 6th level. With the help of the Square Heaven Zen voice and the Square Heaven flame, he had a deeper understanding of the various martial paths that he had mastered. More importantly, the Heaven Fighting Grand technique had been activated to a very powerful level. Qin Nan, there's one thing that I've always forgotten to tell you. You're now the owner of the ancient Square Heaven lamp. In the future, you won't be afraid of any flames that aren't too different in level. At the same time, you can also restrain evil spirits, and your mind won't be affected by external things. Feng Ruyu floated out and threw out a battle robe. He smiled and said, "This is what I wore when I used to follow my master. You can make do with it now." Nan put it on. "Thank you. Let's go now." Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2677. At this moment, in the middle of this small world. Originally, this was a very terrifying forbidden area. It was shrouded in black fog and filled with a deathly aura. Whether it was celestial venerables or strange creatures, no matter what method they used, they could not set foot in this place. If one entered by chance, they would die without a doubt. Not even their corpses would be left. However, now, this place had undergone an earth-shattering change. The black fog faded away, and the deathly aura dissipated, revealing an endless reddish-gold land that emitted a sacred vitality. Suddenly, in the azure sky, a bolt of 9-colored lightning that was several thousand meters thick struck the ground with boundless divine might without any warning. Tight then, bolts of 7-colored divine lightning that were 1,000 feet thick struck down one after another. It was like a violent storm, and the scene was shocking. Boom! Boom! This terrifying heavenly tribulation lasted for an entire hour before it came to a complete stop. However, that's right. To everyone's astonishment, this reddish-golden land was not completely destroyed. Instead, it turned into countless fragments. Every fragment was different in size and shape. In addition to that, each of the fragments had a faint glow on them. The law of order, do not slack in executing it. With the oath of 100 venerables, I summon Mountain of Origin. An ethereal and dignified voice resounded between heaven and earth. When the last word fell, the endless fragments began to dance between heaven and earth, as if they had been summoned. During this process, one fragment to another was constantly connecting and fusing with each other. A monstrous momentum immediately brewed between heaven and earth. After an unknown amount of time, the fragments disappeared. In their place was an incomparably majestic mountain that stood between heaven and earth. Its entire body was reddish gold, but it was blooming with circles of pale green halos that illuminated all directions. It was silent, but it made people feel a majestic pressure. From afar, it was like a pillar of the world, shaking the earth, supporting the sky, and maintaining all order in the world. It was as if as long as it existed, the world would not be turbulent and the world would be eternal. This was Mountain of Origin. Its wonders were not just what they saw on the surface. The boundless golden land was once a shocking opportunity in this place. Later on, it was discovered by the spirit of the celestial pole list. Therefore, with the combined power of the 99 venerables, they refined and transformed this place with this place as the center. The 9-colored divine lightning and the 7-colored divine lightning that filled the sky were specially set up by the spirit of the celestial pole list and the others. In the process of bombardment was also a type of tempering of the golden earth, awakening the divine might it contained, forming Origin Mountain. This was one of the important reasons why the Mountain of Origin could produce supreme celestial venerables. After the celestial venerables ascended the mountain, the various wonders of the Mountain of Origin would silently affect the celestial venerables, giving them great support, great benefits, and mysterious transformations. Dang, the initial spirit of the celestial pole list called this transformation cleansing. Wash, leave the mortal world and become an immortal. Roar, roar, roar. At this moment, in all directions of the Mountain of Origin, strange creatures seemed to be attracted by an unimaginable force and rushed toward the Mountain of Origin in a frenzied manner. Although I was mentally prepared, when I really saw this scene, I still feel shocked. The celestial venerables who were closer to this place had already rushed over. Looking at the scene in front of them, they could not help but be slightly absent-minded and muttered to themselves. However, they did not follow these strange creatures to the Mountain of Origin. It was not because they did not obtain any treasures and origin jades, because every celestial venerables could climb the Mountain of Origin. It was just that without treasures and origin jades, they could not reach the crucial peak. This is the reason why they did not move, was that they knew that only when the purple halo emitted by the Mountain of Origin completely disappeared could they climb the mountain. This was the rule set by the spirit of the celestial pole list and the other celestial venerables in the past. It was mainly to give these strange creatures time, so that they could all gather at the Mountain of Origin and form a grand scene. Time passed bit by bit. The purple halo emitted by the Mountain of Origin began to dim, and the number of strange creatures that poured into the Mountain of Origin increased. Even though the Mountain of Origin was shrouded in a mysterious force that prevented people from seeing the scene on the mountain, they could imagine that at the foot of the mountain and on the mountainside, there were already densely packed strange creatures. More and more celestial venerables rushed over. Celestial venerables Eternal Night, Celestial venerables Lu Fang, Celestial venerables Huang Yun, Celestial venerables, and so on, as well as the Buddha transformed by Huang Fuju, the Celestial Tree, the three beautiful women, and the Celestial venerables of Qin Nan's alliance, were all present. After they gathered, they only looked at the Mountain of Origin for a while before they began to communicate with each other using their divine thoughts. To wait after they climbed the mountain, no one knew what would happen and what the situation would be like. Therefore, they had to imagine various situations and see how they could work together. Not long after, Qin Nan arrived. Soon as he appeared, he became the focus of the crowd. "Little Nanzi, you're here?" Princess Miao Miao was pleasantly surprised at first, then said with a face full of grievances, "After we finished helping the ancestor and the others, we wanted to return to the ancient square heaven lamp, but we found that we couldn't enter. Later, we went to look for treasures and origin jades, but we didn't find any. Husband, I'm sorry, I couldn't help you." Jiang Bailan and Xue Mengyao also sighed softly, their faces full of self-blame. "It's okay." Qin Nan felt funny in his heart. He didn't realize before that the three women's acting skills were so good. If he hadn't sensed it long ago, he would have even believed it. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 2678. Qin Nan. Patriarch Ming Chu, Celestial Venerable Ling Huang, Celestial Venerable Chang Shao, and the others walked forward together. This time, we obtained 2 treasures. After everyone discussed it, Ling Huang and I will be in charge of them. This time, let us 2 old bones fight side by side with you. Patriarch Ming Chu and Celestial Venerable Ling Huang smiled. Long Celestial Venerable Shao and the others sighed softly in their hearts. If it weren't for the lack of spots, they would have definitely gone together. What they were thinking was not to become a supreme celestial venerable themselves, but to do their best to help Qin Nan become a supreme celestial venerable. Qin Nan's eyes narrowed slightly. After 2 breaths of silence, he nodded and cupped his fist. This time, I'll have to trouble everyone. Kid, why are you being so polite with me? Patriarch Ming Chu rolled his eyes. Qin Nan, this old man will compete with you this time to see who will become a supreme celestial venerable first. The celestial tree walked over and let out a hearty laugh. All right, then I'll have a good competition with Senior. Qin Nan saw that it was safe and sound, and its aura was even faintly breaking through. He couldn't help but be delighted. Friend Qin Nan. At this time, Celestial Venerable Huang Yun and the other big shots all opened their mouths and bowed to Qin Nan. Apart other than Celestial Venerable Huang Yun and those Celestial Venerables who had yet to obtain treasures and origin jades, the other Celestial Venerables didn't come forward. They still maintained a very far distance. If Qin Nan was in trouble now, they wouldn't be able to stop him at all. Qin Nan smiled and returned the greetings one by one. Only however, what made Qin Nan slightly surprised was that Celestial Venerable Evernight, who was standing in the distance, took the initiative to greet him this time and apologized in a low voice. However, Qin Nan didn't pay attention to him at all. If apologizing was so useful, then why bother cultivating? Qin Nan chatted with Patriarch Ming Chu and the others for a while. He looked at Origin Mountain and tried to release his divine sense to attach to a strange creature that was about to enter Origin Mountain. In the end, his divine sense was annihilated by an invisible force as soon as the creature stepped onto the mountain. It was impossible to pry into Origin Mountain in advance. Time passed bit by bit. After 6 hours, the purple halo that bloomed in Mount Origin was so dim that it was almost invisible. All the celestial masters present held their breaths and waited with rapt attention. Song and Yi Zhaoxian haven't come yet. It seems they plan to let us go first and have the final battle on the mountain peak. Ancestor Ming Chu looked around and transmitted his voice in a low voice. This is to be expected. Qin Nan nodded. If they started the war earlier, there would be too many variables. Only at the most critical moment could they play a role. It's gone. Let's go. Qin Nan suddenly felt something. His body immediately burst out with an amazing momentum, turning into an amazing saber light, and flew toward Origin Mountain. The celestial tree, Ancestor Mingchu, and Ancestor Ling Huang followed closely behind. On the other side of Origin Mountain, there was a sudden fluctuation in the void. Song and Yi Zhaoxian walked out from it. He glanced at the majestic mountain and didn't say anything. He just flew over. Only however, Yi Zhaoxian didn't notice at all. Song's eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. 100 after a breath, Qin Nan, Song, and Yi Zhaoxian stepped onto Origin Mountain at the same time from 3 different directions. Dang, when their first step landed, the strange creatures all looked at them in unison. Roar! Chi! The strange creatures' eyes were bloodshot as they rushed toward Qin Nan and the other 2, unleashing their peerless divine abilities. Saint Devil Fist! Qin Nan didn't dodge at all. He directly swept forward, smashing the strange creatures into pieces. If there was no other choice but to climb to the top from the foot of the mountain, he could only kill his way up. This was something the Sky Pole Roll Spirit and the other big shots had decided on after a discussion. After all, it wasn't easy to kill one's way from the foot of the mountain to the peak. They had to continuously condense their own essence, energy, and spirit during this slaughter. Wait, after reaching the top of the mountain, the chances of advancing to the Supreme Empyrean would be greater. Song Yi Zhaoxian, Huang Fuju, the Celestial Tree, Eternal Night Heaven Highness, and the rest of the Heaven Highnesses, and Princess Miao Miao and the other 2 women who were secretly following them all went up on their own. The only difference was that Ancestor Mingchu and Progenitor Ling Wang kept moving forward under the protection of Supreme Chang Shao and the others. This was because they had already given up on the possibility of advancing to the Supreme Empyrean realm. They only wanted to preserve their strength so they could lend Qin Nan a hand at the top of the mountain. Some time passed. All kinds of killings took place at the foot of the mountain. They continued to move up. Qin Nan gradually forgot how many strange creatures he had killed during the slaughter. There were just too many of them, so much that he was too lazy to keep track of them. No. Qin Nan could clearly sense that under the magical influence of the Origin Mountain and the continuous killing, his essence, qi, and spirit had become more refined. His body gradually emitted an invisible aura. Qin Nan, there's a unique breathing art in the heavens and earth. Using this breathing technique in a continuous battle like this would allow one's essence, energy, and spirit to be condensed to the pinnacle level. On top of that, your soul, mind, and flesh will achieve a strange state of synchronization. Feng Ruyu suddenly said, "Listen to me, if you use the breathing art now, it'll be a great help to you when you reach the top of the mountain." Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 2679. It didn't take long for Qin Nan to grasp the breathing technique and execute it. No, it didn't take long for this breathing technique to show its power. Qin Nan only felt that through each breath, each move, his body, mind, and soul had entered a wonderful state of resonance. It was his essence, energy, and spirit. This was originally a very ethereal thing, but Qin Nan could clearly feel that as he continued to move forward, little bits of essence, energy, and spirit gathered into his body like water droplets. This originally bloody slaughter was now like an art. If there were outsiders here, they would only feel that Qin Nan had become the incarnation of the heavenly Tao, interpreting the principles of heaven and earth and the mysteries of all things. At this moment, one battle after another was unfolding on Mount Origin, causing the smell of blood to gradually become stronger and float in all directions, causing more and more strange creatures to riot. After a while, all of this did not cause too much of a commotion on Mount Origin, because Mount Origin was simply too grand. If Mount Origin was compared to an ocean, then the current battle between Qin Nan and the other celestial masters was like a huge splash on top of a huge wave, not worth mentioning. Time passed bit by bit, and soon 10 hours had passed. Qin Nan, Tsang, Yi Zhaoxian, and the other celestial masters finally fought their way from the foot of the mountain to the mountainside. During these 10 hours, they did not stop to rest. If it were not for the miraculous nature of Mount Origin, which helped in the recovery of the energy in the body, even some of the existences who had just stepped into the celestial master realm would have exhausted the energy in their bodies. However, after such a long period of killing, the essence, energy, and spirit of each of these celestial masters had been condensed to a rather astonishing level, especially Qin Nan, Tsang, Yi Zhaoxian, and the celestial tree. Rings of faint red light bloomed on each of their bodies, and their auras were grand and majestic. In their current state, even if they didn't release any aura or pressure, they could still intimidate a peak ruler and instill fear in the latter's heart. This was because the essence, energy, and spirit was formed from the blood of many heavenly venerate-level creatures. Are we not far from the peak? Qin Nan raised his head and glanced at the countless strange creatures. His eyes flickered as he changed his movement. During the battle, Qin Nan had been using his eye technique and movement skills to avoid the countless attacks of these strange creatures. But now, Qin Nan didn't do that and chose to ignore them completely. Qin Nan's eyes, there seemed to be only the strange creatures in front of him. He did not seem to see the strange creatures that were attacking him from other angles. He allowed their attacks to land on him. Meanwhile, Qin Nan's outstanding flesh was on full display. It felt like the attacks had landed on a magnificent mountain. Apart from a series of loud thuds, they did not move the mountain at all. As a result, Qin Nan's speed increased significantly. He began to leave Tsang, Yi Zhaoxian, and the others in the dust. The distance between them gradually widened too, such as from afar Qin Nan looked like a terrifying beast from a prehistoric era, using the most barbaric method and the most primitive force to clear a bloody path for himself. Some time had passed, and Qin Nan had lost count of how many strange creatures he had killed, when he suddenly sensed a sacred presence. "Have we finally arrived?" Qin Nan shuddered. A pair of brilliant wings appeared on his back, boosting his speed further. Roar! The strange creatures let out a series of roars as they surged forward. Even so, they still wanted to kill Qin Nan at all costs. Great Evolution Sacred Mountain. Nan flipped his hand and unleashed a brilliant glow. Bang! One after another, the strange creatures were killed on the spot and turned into a bloody mist that filled the sky. Boom! In the midst of the surging force, Qin Nan soared into the sky and arrived at the peak of the mountain. Bang! As soon as he landed on the ground, the strange creatures that were chasing after him immediately backed away like a tide, as if they had encountered some great terror. In Qin Nan's senses, the sacred aura seemed to have completely revealed itself from the mist. It suddenly grew 100 times stronger, making it incredibly magnificent. TSK, this thing is really something. It's rare to find even in the Blue Dome. Back then, your luck was pretty good, to actually be able to find such a piece. Feng Ryu said. Qin Nan dispersed his wings and looked up. The peak of Origin Mountain was more than 3,000 miles wide. Its surface was extremely smooth and flat, like the surface of a mirror. The color of the stones was no longer completely crimson. Instead, they were mixed with wisps of fluffy purple, which made people feel that they had accumulated endless mysteries and were even heavier. At the center of the mountain stood a crystal 999 feet tall. Crystal the stone was colorful, with 6 sides on its body except for the top and bottom. Each side was uneven and had countless edges and corners, forming a vague human-shaped statue. The sacred presence was emitted from the human-shaped statue and formed after the 2 sides converged. This was the greatest opportunity of the Origin Mountain, the 6 Emperors' divine source. Clang! Years ago, the spirit of the celestial pole ranking discovered this 6 Emperors' celestial origin. That was why it joined forces with the other celestial venerables and spent a great deal of effort to build the Mountain of Origin in the middle profound realm of the Green Dome continent. Baidu search the Cloud Pavilion novel website and let you experience the latest and fastest chapters of novels. All novels are updated in seconds. Chapter 2680. Buzz. The 6 monarch god Origin began to change all of a sudden. It began to tremble slightly. The immortal glow flowing inside it sped up. A great aura burst out of it and loomed over the entire mountain. Bang! Qin. A thunderous explosion took place in Nan's ears. Following it, everything in front of him suddenly turned pitch black, as if he had been dragged into the boundless night sky. The law of the heavens and earth, from beginning to end. 10 million great Luo immortals, without a way to rely on. The loud voice seemed to have traveled across time and space. It echoed in the darkness and Qin Nan's heart. Not long after, Qin Nan sensed something. He raised his head and looked to the east. 6 magnificent blurry figures had appeared out of nowhere. Each of them was emitting an overwhelming aura. Qin Nan was like a seedling encountering a towering tree when compared to them. Qin Nan was under tremendous pressure. 6 the magnificent figures remained still, thus he was unable to see the expressions on their faces. However, Qin Nan could feel that their gazes were fixed on him. The loud voice suddenly became louder. Each word was like a thunderclap. The 6 magnificent figures began to make their moves too. They raised their hands and pointed at Qin Nan with their fingers. Whoosh! Everything in front of Qin Nan returned to normal. The darkness was gone, and so were the 6 magnificent figures. However, it was not an illusion. Qin Nan could feel that his body had established a special connection with the 6 monarch god origin. It felt like an invisible passage had been established between the two. A tremendous force surged into Qin Nan's body through the passage. It immediately soaked Qin Nan's soul and body. Bang bang bang! A series of explosions took place inside Qin Nan's body. His body emitted wisps of godly glow. The aura that he was emitting continued to grow at a visible rate. The 6 monarch god origin had given him a tremendous boost, allowing him to evolve right away. When the spirit of the celestial pole list built the origin mountain with the 6 monarch god origin, it had modified the origin mountain too, so no one could monopolize it or refine it completely. If someone could ignore the rules, the origin mountain would burn itself and turn into ashes. The 6 Emperor God Source had already become a very fair and shocking opportunity. Every time the origin mountain appeared, it would allocate half of its power to the experts that reached the peak. If there was only one powerhouse at the peak of the mountain, then that person would be able to monopolize half of the power. If one more person came, then this half of the power would be split into 2. If there were 2 more people, the power would be split into 3, and so on and so forth. Dang, the spirit of the celestial pole list and the other heavenly venerates considered that if too much was divided equally, then the power that the cultivators could obtain would be even less. Thus, the chances of becoming a supreme heavenly venerate would also be much smaller. Therefore, they set up 8 origin jade. At most, there could only be 8 people who could share the power equally. This time, the Dongwang Great Void Chain and other supreme treasures strengthened the 6 Emperors' divine source in the process of transforming the mountain of origin. Therefore, the quota of 8 people was reduced to a maximum of 29 people. In other words, whoever reached the peak of the mountain first would be able to enjoy the power of the 6 Emperors' divine source, which was 3 times more than what they had received before. Just therefore, when Qin Nan reached the second half of the origin mountain, he wanted to get the first place as quickly as possible, regardless of the damage to his body. Yes. It was not that there were too many strange creatures on the origin mountain, and he was worried that his body would be shattered. He was afraid that he would force his way up with the power of his body at the foot of the mountain. In this way, he could get more time. If he was one breath ahead of others, the benefits he would get would be extremely amazing. With Qin Nan's talent, he could directly step into the supreme celestial master realm. The spirit of the ancient lamp sighed in his heart. However, that was absolutely impossible. As he expected, in less than 15 breaths of time after Qin Nan absorbed the power, 2 figures flew from the mountain and landed on the peak. They were Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian. The huge power that poured into Qin Nan's body was instantly divided into 3 parts and poured into the bodies of the 3 people. The power that Qin Nan could absorb was also reduced by 3 times in an instant. Friend Qin Nan, just as I expected, you must be the first to reach the peak. You have reaped great benefits this time. Song burst out laughing without the slightest hint of annoyance or displeasure on his face. Zhao Xian looked at Qin Nan coldly without saying a word. She reached out her hand and slowly drew out the immortal sword that had been sealed at her waist. A magnificent sword intent immediately swept across the peak of the mountain. A murderous aura immediately spread across the place. Underruns spread under Tsang's feet as the pearls of the heavenly emperor rose behind him one after another, emitting an immortal glow. I'm not a magnanimous person. You have suppressed me in the past, so today, I have no choice but to take your head. Yi Zhaoxian said coldly. She moved and turned into an unstoppable sword glow slashing at Qin Nan. Baidu search the Yunlai Pavilion novel website, which allows you to experience the latest and fastest chapters. All the novels are updated in seconds. Chapter 2681. Just you? Qin Nan's eyes were filled with disdain. He activated the mastery of heaven, the space-time canon, the art of the immortal demon, and other cultivation technique. His invulnerable saintly physique was activated as well. Boom! Qin Nan smashed Yi Zhaoxian's sword light with a single punch. Yi Zhaoxian's figure appeared 300 feet above him. He formed a seal with his hands and 3 space-time steels appeared behind him. A space-time array was activated beneath his feet. Myriad Gods' heaven-shattering technique. Yi Zhaoxian unleashed his divine power. In the void above Qin Nan, human-shaped statues of different sizes appeared. Each statue was in a different posture. It was as if they were casting different spells. They attacked Qin Nan together. Immortal painting of the 33 heavens. Song also moved. He stepped into the sky and a huge painting appeared behind him. All kinds of mysteries appeared in it and enveloped Qin Nan. Don't hold back anymore. Just show me what you're really capable of. You've been at the service of the 7 treasures. Did they not give you any benefits to help you improve your strength? Qin Nan was in the vortex. He was as immovable as a mountain. He slashed out with his saber. Holy Demon Saber Technique? In an instant, the Holy Demon Saber Technique was performed at the same time. His will was integrated into every saber chi. The statues were smashed into pieces and the mysteries were destroyed. Qin Nan moved as fast as lightning. In an instant, he slashed out 2 crescent-shaped saber chi toward Song and Yi Zhaoxian. This was different from the saber chi from before. This saber chi contained a huge pressure, as if it had merged with a mountain. It made Song and Yi Zhaoxian feel their bodies become heavy, and they felt like they could not breathe. Friend Qin Nan, since you're in such a hurry, I'll have to show my friend Qin Nan one by one. Song smiled faintly as he retreated quickly. He summoned an immortal sword with his right hand and performed countless sword moves. The breath only lasted for a brief moment, only the blink of an eye. However, Qin Nan first sensed an explosion of sword intense, which combined with the countless sword intense and evolved into a new sword intense. The new sword intense continued to evolve and reached an unbelievable level, bursting out with a magnificent monarch aura. Qin Nan was very familiar with the first 2 sword forms. They were Tsong's Human Emperor Sword and Earth Sovereign Sword. Back then, Tsong had used these 2 moves to unleash terrifying power. Moreover, Tsong was preparing to deduce and condense the final move, Celestial Darch Sword. However, when Qin Nan was about to use the Celestial Emperor Sword, he exposed his flesh and interrupted Tsong in advance. What was the current situation? Tsong's Human Monarch, Earthly Sovereign, and Celestial Emperor swords were each stronger than the previous. If he wanted to use the strongest Celestial Emperor sword, he would have to start from the Human Monarch sword and continuously accumulate sword force to transform into the Earthly Sovereign sword. Only then would he be able to transform into the Celestial Emperor sword. Song had spent a lot of time to display the Earthly Emperor sword. But now, Song had completed all of them in one breath. He did not give Qin Nan any chance to interrupt him. One had to know that for any cultivation technique, if one wanted to shorten the time it took to release it by a breath, they would need to have a deeper understanding and a better breakthrough. Only then could they achieve this. It was not easy. Song had shortened the release time by a few dozen breaths. Qin Nan, the Celestial Darch wants you dead. You have to die. Song's sword slashed down. The surging sword essence crushed the crescent-shaped saber chi into pieces. Like a mad dragon, it continued to rush toward Qin Nan. Qin Nan's expression froze. It felt like he could see the realm of 33 immortal realms appearing in front of him and slashing at him with the word judgment. The 33 heavens, small celestial realm, wants me dead? However, at that moment, Song was not the only one who attacked. Yi Zhaoxian was also attacking. Yi Zhaoxian seemed to have unlocked a powerful seal. A shocking fluctuation of space-time power surged out of his body. He formed a seal with his hands and 7 terrifying ripples appeared in the void. 7 illusory figures of space-time steels appeared one after another and suppressed the void. Back then, he could only form 3 space-time steels at once. Now, he was still a Tao-reaching heavenly master, but he could form 10 space-time steels at once? Space-time soul refining formation. Yi Zhaoxian used the same trick again. The shadows of the 10 time and space steels formed an ancient formation, becoming one with him. It was as if the spirit of the time and space steels had broken through the restraints of the laws of heaven and earth and descended into the human world. Swoosh! Yi Zhaoxian also slashed with his sword. However, his sword was different from Song's. It was illusory and ethereal. It did not feel sharp, but it was clear that it would take away everything. Everything, of course, included life? Both of them are so powerful? No wonder they were chosen by the 7 great treasures. Feng Ruyu was shocked. He immediately shouted in Qin Nan's mind, "Qin Nan, kid, don't take it head-on. Use the 33 heavens, Saint Ruler Talisman." Before he could finish his sentence, he felt a powerful summoning force. Ancient Square Heaven Lamp. An ancient lamp appeared in Qin Nan's palm. Its wick released a monstrous flame that resisted the 2-sword cheese. F***CK. Kid, do you still have any humanity? Feng Ruyu cursed. However, at this juncture, he had no choice but to cooperate with Qin Nan and release the power of the ancient Square Heaven Lamp. Calm. Wonderful book house. Calm. Chapter 2682. Boom. 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 The raging sea of fire incinerated the 2 terrifying sword cheese. Although it could not completely block them, its power was greatly reduced. In a split second, Qin Nan displayed his terrifying physique, and threw out 2 punches. The majestic force smashed the 2-sword cheese into pieces. As expected of my friend Qin Nan, you have taken the Square Heaven Ancient Lamp. Song laughed. However, a mere Square Heaven Ancient Lamp is not enough to resist the Heavenly Emperor's command. Song's body moved and turned into a sky full of afterimages. He slashed out one sword move after another. Each sword move was far more powerful than usual. Human King Sword, Earthly Sovereign Sword, Celestial Emperor Sword. These sword skills were personally created by Tsong. They were not only 3 sword moves, but 3 different sword forces. In other words, when Tsong used the Celestial Emperor Sword, Tsong would always be in the sword stance of the Celestial Emperor Sword. Then, when he used other sword moves, he would be strengthened by the sword stance and transform. Even though the other sword moves couldn't match up to the earlier one, the other sword moves were superior in that there were more moves and more variations to them. Qin Nan, we haven't seen each other for a few months. I'm afraid your trump card is not just a broken lamp, right? You should be more straightforward and use all your other tricks. Yi Zhaoxian became one with the formation. Light twined around him like a space-time deity. His current state was similar to Tsong's. Every move he used was supported by the space-time deity refining formation, which greatly increased his power. Therefore, when he attacked, Qin Nan felt a great pressure. Broken lamp. Feng Ruyu's voice suddenly became shrill and thin. Qin Nan, channel your power into the Square Heaven Ancient Lamp. Today, I will teach this dead man a lesson. Okay. Qin Nan was slightly delighted. He had prepared a speech to let Yi Zhaoxian attack with all his might. He did not expect that Yi Zhaoxian would mock the Square Heaven Ancient Lamp. This saved him a lot of effort. Swoosh. The flames released by the Square Heaven Ancient Lamp soared again. Not only that, but faintly discernible Buddhist chants rang out, causing the flames to evolve into arhats, Buddhas, bodhisattvas, and so on. They unleashed one Buddhist divine ability after another, contending against Song and Yi Zhaoxian's sword moves that filled the sky. Saint Demon Saber Technique. Qin Nan moved back and forth and slashed out snow-white saber chi. At this moment, a cold snort was heard. 2 against 1 here again? Don't you guys feel ashamed at all? Qin Nan, let me help you. It was the person who came the celestial tree. It descending from the sky, the celestial emperor, celestial divine, celestial, was celestial. It's you again. A cold light flashed in Yi Zhaoxian's eyes. He raised his hands at the same time. One hand formed a sword technique, while the other formed a Dharma seal. He dispersed most of his attacks on Qin Nan and focused on the celestial tree. He wanted to send that old thing to hell as soon as possible. Qin Nan, we're here to help you. Suddenly 2 more roars were heard. Ancestor Mingqiu and Celestial Master Ling Huang had arrived. Myriad Treasure Umbrella. Dao Annihilation Spear. Before the 2 of them landed, they channeled all the power in their bodies into the 2 treasures. 2 resplendent rays of light immediately appeared in the air. A giant 9-colored umbrella and a purple-golden spear appeared one after another, unleashing a shocking power. Both of them had just broken through to Celestial Master. They could not use spells to fight Song and Yi Zhaoxian like the Celestial Tree. Therefore, as soon as they participated in the battle, they had to take out their treasures. With these 2 treasures, the power they could unleash was comparable to that of a celestial master in the realm of knowledge. It might even surpass that of a celestial master. Don't you like to bully the weak with numbers? Today, the 3 of us will bully the weak with numbers. A clear and melodious voice suddenly sounded. Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao had also arrived. Celestial Light Mirror. They also took out a treasure. It was a mirror with thousands of different celestial lights on it. It was constantly flowing and changing, making people feel incomparably mysterious. They wanted to take a good look at it. Princess Miao Miao and the other 2 formed a formation. Their auras connected with each other, and they worked together to send their power into the celestial light mirror. Boom! Hundreds of celestial lights immediately burst out from the mirror. Each of the celestial lights was like a peerless immortal sword that had not appeared in 10,000 years. They contained great divine power, far surpassing that of Ancestor Mingqiu and Ancestor Ling Huang. This time, Princess Miao Miao and the other 2 girls were lucky. First of all, the device spirit of the celestial light mirror was very disgusted with the use of the Donghuang Great Void Chain and other treasures. It was willing to fully support the 3 girls. Secondly, the power that the 3 girls could unleash after joining forces was enormous. It was far beyond the level of the 3 celestial masters. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. At the same time, waves of magnificent auras broke through the air one after another. Celestial Master Evernight, Celestial Master Lu Feng, Celestial Master Huang Yun, and the others, as well as Huang Fuju, who was hiding in the dark, had all climbed to the top of the mountain one after another. The number of celestial masters on the top of the mountain suddenly increased to 18. Wonderful Book House. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.